Before their eyes appeared a picturesque scene at the Azure Sky Sect Square. A disciple with a bewildered expression spoke up. I heard that when Yunhai, the Grand Senior Brother, competed with the disciple of the Hai Lan sect, he was killed. The others standing nearby also looked equally confused. What? Yunhai just became the Grand Senior Brother less than a year ago, and he is already dead. What should we do about the upcoming competition in the western regions now? It is said that the previous Grand Senior Brother was killed by an expert from the human sect, a truly brutal death at Moon Mountain Cave. This time, the Grand Senior Brother was killed while competing with a disciple from the Hai Lan sect. An elder couldn't help but exclaim, "Is it possible that the heavens want to destroy our Azure Sky sect?" The young woman standing next to him could not hide the fearful expression on her face. Elder, has it come to the point where all 3 generations of Grand Senior Brothers of our Azure Sky sect have perished? Although he was reluctant to say such words, he could only tremble as he spoke. Duan Jingyi, Fei Shui, Yun Hai are all dead, almost all the disciples under the sect master are gone. Suddenly, a ray of light pierced through the dense clouds in the sky. From within, thunderous lightning struck down. Crows flew everywhere, signaling an ominous event. The dark clouds obscured the moon, and malevolence descended upon the beings. The elder realized that something bad was about to happen, and he shouted, "This is not good. This formation is the work of an expert from the demon sect." The disciples, upon hearing this, all looked up at the descending lightning, utterly terrified. What? The demon sect? They're the ones suppressing the 4 directions. I've heard that people from the Earth sect are vicious and kill without hesitation. A girl trembled to the point of tears. Could they really want to massacre our Azure Sky sect? From the dark clouds, mysterious figures with masks covering their faces descended. They landed in the middle of the square, exuding a dense aura of evil energy. One of them spoke up, introducing himself. The demon sect Na Luo invites Azure Sky sect and Jing to come forward to greet him. Hearing this name, those standing above couldn't help but be startled. Na Luo, I can't believe it's him. The elder recalled the image of his ruthless killings, filled with dread. It is said that this person is extremely bloodthirsty. There are countless experts at the 3 realms peak who have died at his hands. Why has he come to the Azure Sky sect? With that, the elder flew straight down to the square facing them. He is the sect master of Azure Sky sect, named Lu Ming. Standing in mid-air, he coldly said, "My Azure Sky sect and your demon sect have no grievances. What is the meaning of your intrusion into the mountain gate of Azure Sky sect this time?" The demon sect members did not answer him but repeated their previous question. "We invite Azure Sky sect and Jing to come out to meet us." The other disciples could only look at each other in confusion. Who is Jing? Have you heard this name before? Does our Azure Sky sect have a person by this name? Then they looked at the members of the demon sect and affirmed, it must be someone extraordinary for the demon sect to come and invite them. Elder Lu Ming, hearing this, turned to ask, "Does Azure Sky sect have any elder or deacon named Jing?" The disciple raised both hands and shook his head repeatedly, "No." Elder Lu Ming then wondered, could it be a disciple? That guy continued to shake his head in confusion. Our Azure Sky sect is a small sect with few disciples. I remember very clearly that out of 513 disciples, there is no one named Jing. When he got the answer, Elder Lu Ming angrily turned around and said loudly, "Na Luo, our Azure Sky sect has no one named Jing, please go back." At this moment, he also exuded a terrifying evil energy, speaking coldly. "I will say it again, invite Azure Sky sect and Jing, and if he does not come out, then don't blame us for being ruthless." Seeing their arrogant attitude, Lu Ming shouted, "Impudent! Although Azure Sky sect is not considered a major sect, we are not a soft persimmon that anyone can squeeze." The man Na Luo maintained his previous attitude, provoking, "You don't want to drink the invitation wine and instead want to drink the punishment wine." After saying this, he stomped his foot on the ground, creating a barrier surrounding his body, along with a huge hand in the air. Before striking, he announced, "Then today I will crush this persimmon, which is you." His hand moved, and at the same time, the giant arm in the air prepared to strike down on Elder Lu Ming. He quickly drew his sword to block the blow. His small sword seemed unable to withstand the giant hand for long. Very quickly, the giant hand easily crushed his sword. Lu Ming was forced to step back a few meters. The power it emitted was too great, so at this moment, Lu Ming had to spit out blood. Na Luo, standing across from him, felt very pleased. Today, with Jing not here, the Azure Sky sect no longer needs to exist. The disciples witnessing this scene thought, they are too arrogant, they actually want to destroy our Azure Sky sect. Then, without anyone telling them to, they all shouted in unison, determined. We will fight them with all our might. Hearing this, Na Luo showed no fear and thought, throwing eggs at rocks, they really don't know their own strength. The enormous arm in the air seemed to gain even more power, radiating a pressure that enveloped the entire space. Due to the immense strength, everyone present could barely withstand it and struggled just to maintain their footing. However, one by one, they had to collapse to the ground, unable to do anything else. Even the elder was trying hard to resist and expressed his grievances. Damn it, how could our Azure Sky sect, established for over 700 years, really be destroyed here? Azure Sky sect, the dark sky looming over as if it were about to face destruction. Na Luo led the group of the demon sect and ordered, Lu Ming old man, I give you another 10 breaths. Saying this, he said in a harsh tone, if Jing doesn't come out, the Azure Sky sect will be destroyed. Elder Lu Ming showed visible frustration, damn it, you clearly intend to eliminate my Azure Sky sect, there's no need to look for excuses. Na Luo, who didn't like to talk much, raised 2 fingers to affirm, then you all can die. His huge hand was once again waving in the air, preparing to strike down on all the members of the Azure Sky sect. At this moment, Elder Lu Ming was sweating profusely with a face full of despair, he gritted his teeth, it's over. As that hand was about to descend, suddenly a bright golden light appeared in the sky. Na Luo looked up with some panic, humph, what is this? Descending from that light was a dragon of green color, looking extremely powerful, which startled the group. Seeing that something was wrong, they all turned to run, shouting, not good, run fast. However, they hadn't managed to escape before a tremendous force descended from the sky, leaving no one behind. Immediately, each of them spat blood on the spot, and even Na Luo was not spared from being knocked down by the surge of power, looking at the pool of blood on his hand in pain. The disciples of Azure Sky sect were overjoyed at this scene. What is going on? Who has made a move? The Grand Elder asked with a smile, puzzled. Is there an expert here to save our Azure Sky sect? The enormous surge of power gradually cracked Na Luo's mask, and finally, the blood-soaked mask fell off his face on its own. He was extremely cautious, looking at the barrier before him as if fearing something bad might happen. Finally, from within that circle, a leaf materialized, floating in the air. Na Luo's face showed immense panic as he was drenched in sweat. A leaf? I can't believe it's just a leaf. Even the Grand Elder was equally alarmed. One leaf to suppress demon. The other disciples were very confused. Oh my, who is it really? Does our Azure Sky sect really have an expert of this level? On Na Luo's side, he turned back and whispered to his subordinates. There are extraordinary experts in Azure Sky sect, we must retreat quickly. After saying this, they gathered together into a dense stream of hidden weapons. Flying before the eyes of the crowd from Azure Sky sect, they left Elder Lu Ming with a big question in his mind. Since when did our Azure Sky sect have such an expert? The scene shifts to the Sutra Pavilion of Azure Sky sect, where a young man was sweeping while muttering, this world is indeed too dangerous. At that moment, a cockroach crawled gently across his foot. However, he still noticed it and gently sat down to talk to it. The ancient texts record that every 3,000 years there will be a great catastrophe. It's been over 2,900 years since the last great catastrophe, so it seems this one is also approaching. It is said that during that great catastrophe, even the top experts of the 8 realms did not know how many people would die, and even an expert from the 9 realms appeared. Even they found it difficult to survive, while he had only been cultivating for 3 years in the Azure Sky sect. Holding a frying pan in his hand, he smiled contentedly, even though I have a rare and exceptional talent, a carefree and elegant manner, and a distinguished presence, these really do have their benefits. At this point, he looked puzzled and rubbed his chin in thought. However, faced with the great catastrophe that sweeps away the world, my strength is still somewhat lacking. This won't do. I must cultivate for 3 more years in the Azure Sky sect. My whole being emanates a powerful purple aura as I make a decision. No, 2 times 3 years, 3 times 3 years. It is only when my strength surpasses the 9 realms that I can hope to live for another 3,000 years. After demonstrating a bit of power, I stretch and sigh, confiding in the cockroach. Oh, I haven't shared my thoughts with anyone for the past 3 years, only with you. I'm only speaking to you. Now that I've said it, I feel much more at ease. As soon as I finish speaking, I let the cockroach go meet its end, raising my hand in a gesture of innocence. Sorry, little cockroach, you know too much now. The cockroach can only die in helplessness due to its weakness. Cutting to the forest outside the mountain gate of Azure Sky sect, the supreme beings are all heavily injured, bombarded with countless questions. Who on earth is this? This person used just a leaf to force us to retreat. One of them speculates. Is it the Supreme Elder of the Azure Sky sect? If that person hasn't transcended yet, they must already possess 4-realm strength. Na Luo, sweating profusely, affirmed, no, the person just now has strength far beyond 4-realm, absolutely not just that. The others were startled by his words. What? The Azure Sky sect is merely a third-rate sect. Could it really have a 5-realm expert in the Han Nguyen Golden Elixir realm? Na Luo trembled and continued, I'm not sure, but that person is extremely scary. If he were to follow us, we would definitely die today. Just then, a voice echoed, sending shivers down their spines. Are you talking about me? They immediately turned towards the source of the voice, asking, who is it? That person is Jing, standing there with a bright smile welcoming them. The group panicked and repeatedly asked, you, who are you? Even Na Luo could not tell when he had appeared there. The others, upon seeing his appearance, sneered and judged, you look just like a servant from the Azure Sky sect. However, Na Luo still felt no less fear and pointed at him, asking back, who are you really? And Jing raised both hands and calmly replied, servant of the Azure Sky sect, haven't you all seen that already? Na Luo insisted, it can't be, absolutely impossible, a servant can't come near me unnoticed. His face was drenched in sweat as he asked, his skin turning pale, was it you who acted just now? And Jing, now angry, told them, it was me. He recalled the image of sweeping for 5 days and nights until he was completely exhausted, lamenting, you caused such a huge chaos in the sect, trash everywhere, do you know how long it took me to clean up? Before they could utter anything, he angrily raised 5 fingers and cursed, 5 days. You come just once, and it takes me 5 days to clean up. They all looked at him, bewildered, with big question marks over their heads. Na Luo was so shocked that he felt dizzy. Clean up? Could it be that you really are a servant? And Jing didn't want to dwell on this any longer. He directly asked, tell me, why did you come to Azure Sky sect looking for Jing? They immediately adopted a defensive stance towards him. This is the secret of our demon sect, why should we tell you? He stated firmly, crushing your Azure Sky sect is as easy as crushing an ant. I advise you to step aside and not waste our time. Hearing this, Jing merely smiled lightly. If you don't want to say, then fine. I'm not here to ask for details this time. Na Luo, seeing Jing's calm demeanor, grew worried. So what do you want? Jing's gaze changed, becoming cold. Pulling out the weeds by the roots. With that, he raised his hand to the sky, creating a violent whirlwind. The whirlwind grew larger, rising up to the clouds, sweeping away everything around it. Jing turned and walked away, yawning as he left the whirlwind behind. It's over. The supreme beings caught in the whirlwind could only shout, don't, and that was their last words. Blood splattered out from the whirlwind, and no one could distinguish any bodies anymore. Returning to the Azure Sky sect square, this young lady is the daughter of sect master Lu Ming, named Lu Yunair. She anxiously asked her father, has the demon sect really been scared away by a mysterious expert? Lu Ming could only stroke his beard with a large question mark. That person managed to force Na Luo 3 realm to retreat with just a single leaf. Their power is indeed incredibly terrifying. They looked at the ruins before them, puzzled. Could it be that our Azure Sky sect has a supreme elder in seclusion that I don't know about? He turned to his daughter and instructed, "That's right, Yun-Er, go investigate if there's anyone named Jing in our Azure Sky sect." Hearing this, Yun-Er firmly thought to herself, the person with the highest power in our Azure Sky sect is the Supreme Elder. Of course, she also used her intelligence to deduce, but even the Supreme Elder wouldn't be able to use a single leaf to force Na Luo to retreat. Who is actually helping our Azure Sky sect? At the Sutra Pavilion at this time, the sky had become clear, and Jing was still inside, focused on reading a book as usual. The system displayed a message, "All things are merging. The 7 stars sword formula has reached completion at the mortal level." And Jing held the book in his hand, smiling contentedly. After 3 years of merging the Sky Ascending sword formula and the Sky Ascending skill that I created myself, I have already reached the level of immortality. I have also completely merged all the martial arts of the Azure Sky sect. Now is the time to introduce the profile of the male protagonist. He is known as Jing. 3 years ago, he crossed over into this high martial arts world and joined the Azure Sky sect. However, he became a servant disciple responsible for cleaning the Sutra Pavilion. At the same time, he obtained the Universal Fusion System. As its name suggests, the Universal Fusion System allows items of the same type in the world to merge with each other, forming higher-grade items of the same category. For instance, merging sword formulas can also merge rare treasures of heaven and earth or even merge divine weapons. Thus, in the Sutra Pavilion of the Azure Sky sect, he has been continuously merging various low-level magic formulas from the Sutra Pavilion. It has already been 3 years in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, he looked at his hands and wondered, what realm has my cultivation actually reached? Na Luo is merely an expert of the 3 realms, defeating him is not a big deal. Thinking of Na Luo's figure made him even angrier. His cultivation level is still not high enough, he cannot leave the mountain until he reaches the 9th realm. After all, this world is truly too dangerous. Suddenly, a woman's hand slammed against the door outside. An elder with a hot figure named Lu Chang, holding a broom and filled with anger, burst into his room and shouted, "Servant 27. And Jing stood there, a bit at a loss for words at her demeanor, then asked, "Is the deacon lord looking for me for something?" She threw the broom down at his feet decisively and unleashed a stream of fluent insults. "Well, you dare to hide in here and be lazy while I've been looking for you for half a day. Don't you know what has happened in the sect? The sect is in chaos right now, so hurry up and clean it for me." And Jing calmly picked up the broom and stepped outside with a grim expression, leaving Lu Chang fuming. Yes, I will go right away." Later, Jing and the others were cleaning up in the square. Lu Chang and Yun-Er were also there, discussing what had just happened. "Yun-Er, do you mean that there is an expert in our sect who drove back the expert from the demon sect?" Yun-Er, looking worried and remembering the image of that leaf, replied, "That's right. This person used a leaf to repel Na Luo, who has 3-realm cultivation. It could very well be a senior from our Azure Sky sect." Upon hearing this, Lu Chang was shocked, exclaiming, "Oh my, a leaf could repel Na Luo, just how terrifying must this expert be?" Yun-Er calmly suggested, "A senior with such high cultivation might just be passing through. It would be wonderful if they really are an expert from our Azure Sky sect." Lu Chang was equally excited. "Exactly, if they are from our Azure Sky sect, who would dare to underestimate us, especially those from the Jade River sect who have become increasingly arrogant and look down on us." Yun-Er, having thought everything through, expressed her thoughts, "We can temporarily overlook the Jade River sect. Na Luo from the demon sect is the real issue, they cannot find someone named Jing, and they will definitely come here again." Then she came up with an idea and instructed, "I need a list of the disciples of the Azure Sky sect from the past 100 years to check if there is anyone named Jing." Lu Chang seemed to understand the problem and said, "Wait a moment, I will have someone get it for you." After thinking for a while, Lu Chang looked frustrated because he thought, "However, I feel that this situation might be a mistake on the part of the demon sect. The Earth sect is powerful, how could we possibly get entangled with them?" She found Jing's figure in front of her very annoying, so she yelled at him, "Servant 27, haven't you eaten yet? Work more carefully, sweep quickly, and then get the list of the Azure Sky sect for Elder Lu Yun. And Jing turned around, irritated, and replied, I know, Deacon Lord. Yun Er felt that Lu Chang's attitude was a bit excessive, so she smiled lightly and said, just let it go, Lu's senior sister, there's no need to be so harsh with a servant disciple. But Lu Chang, still annoyed, explained her reasoning, Yun Er, you don't understand. These servants just need my absence to start being lazy again. Then she turned and walked forward. Let's go, we need to get the list. Yun Er and An Jing were left there. She smiled brightly and asked, what is your name? You have been at Azure Sky sect for a few years now, right? An Jing avoided her question, putting on an innocent face, Servant 27, I have been at Azure Sky sect for 3 years. She looked at him and continued happily, 3 years, that's not a short time at Azure Sky sect, is it? If a strong enemy attacks the sect in the future, wouldn't you be scared? In response to this question, An Jing confidently affirmed, not scared. Upon hearing this, Yun Er was very surprised and asked back, not scared. Then she thought An Jing was joking, patting his shoulder and laughing heartily, no wonder you are a disciple of Azure Sky sect, very good. An Jing, knowing his place, quietly bowed his head and said softly, Lu Elder is just joking, I am merely a servant. Standing in front of the Sutra Pavilion was the figure of Elder Zhang Qiu from Jade River sect. From his appearance, it was clear that he was not someone to be trifled with. He stood outside the Sutra Pavilion of the Azure Sky sect, watching with eyes and a smile that clearly revealed his scheming nature. During the day, the Azure Sky sect encounters turmoil, and the sect must be in great chaos. This is the perfect opportunity to infiltrate the Sutra Pavilion of the Azure Sky sect. His purpose for being here was to find the magic formula spirit-level Azure Sky mental technique rumored to exist. He placed his hand on the door and charged straight into the Sutra Pavilion. Inside, he glanced around and assessed, indeed, there is no one here at the moment. Looking at the books before him, he was incredibly excited. These were all skill instruction books that had belonged to the Azure Sky sect for hundreds of years. Even if he couldn't find the Azure Sky mental technique, these magical formulas were rare. Before he could do anything, he sensed a presence behind him. Instantly, Zhang Qiu realized someone was there and turned around in surprise. He urgently asked, what was that sound? Who is it? Seeing no one respond, he shouted, come out. From the shadows, a pair of women's feet in high heels slowly stepped forward. The woman looked very mysterious, and with a mask on her face, it was hard to guess her identity. Seeing his appearance, she smirked. Zhang Qiu furrowed his brows tightly and pressed. Like a mouse hiding its head and exposing its tail, who are you really? In response to this somewhat ridiculous question, she retorted, hiding my head and exposing my tail. Then what are you doing sneaking around here, old man? You don't look like a member of Azure Sky sect at all. You must be here to steal skills during the chaos, right? He became so angry that he turned embarrassed and gathered his internal energy to strike, seeking your own death. As soon as he finished speaking, one palm of his instantly shot toward her, forcing her to leap up to dodge the attack. She gracefully soared onto the bookshelf. The previous move seemed trivial to her, but it also made her furious. You old scoundrel, do you really think I'm no match for you? Now that we are here, neither of us should expect to be safe. Zhang Qiu was furious but could only grit his teeth and snort coldly. He continued to channel his internal energy, aiming at her. Despicable. Before they could clash, An Jing's voice rang out wearily. You're here, so just deal with it. Why do you always have to fight each other and make the scriptures fall all over the ground? The two of them were startled and panicked as they looked around. An Jing calmly held a broom and stepped in, standing with his hands on his hips facing them. Seeing his demeanor, she breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be a servant of the Azure Sky sect. Zhang Qiu then asked curiously, little guy, how long have you been hiding in here? An Jing smiled brightly and told them, about 3 years. He recalled the image of her holding a book last time, reading as if it were a sacred text. He remembered that this masked young woman was dressed just like now. The first book she flipped through was the 7 Stars Sword Formula at the middle level of the mortal realm. Seeing him recite without missing a word, she broke into a nervous sweat and stammered, what, you know about this? An Jing did not respond to her but turned to Zhang Qiu. And you as well, you've been here twice before. Last time he came and rummaged through the scriptures as if afraid outsiders wouldn't know he came here to steal. And Jing also remarked, last time, I saw the token at your waist. You are from the Elder Jade River sect, considered a significant figure, so why cling to stealing? Yet he still stubbornly argued, don't spew nonsense, don't even think about framing me. And Jing furrowed his brows tightly, stating directly what the man had done. The first time you came was 3 months ago, wanting to go straight to the 3rd floor of Sutra Pavilion but were trapped by a magic formation. As a result, you stole the formless water technique and ran away. Remembering the embarrassing image of him being bound by the formation, he simply asked, am I wrong? Although Zhang Qiu was furious to the point of turning purple, he couldn't argue against it. He secretly wondered, how does this little guy know everything so clearly? Then he began to question, who exactly are you? And Jing proudly held the broom in his hand, me? I am a servant of the Azure Sky sect. Upon hearing this, the man sneered in disdain, just a servant, and yet you dare to speak so wildly here. Seeing that Jing didn't seem to have any abilities, he unleashed his inner power and rushed forward. However, a barrier had formed around Jing, preventing him from breaking through. At that moment, it seemed he had tried his hardest, yet he couldn't shatter the barrier as expected. Instead, 2 seconds later, his dantian shattered. In pain and fear, he could only cry out, it can't be. His body gradually began to disappear before his eyes. At that moment, he hurriedly begged for his life. However, it was too late. His body had completely vanished, leaving the sword fallen on the ground. She witnessed the entire event, unable to believe her eyes, left speechless. At that moment, she turned back to look at Jing with fear. Jing didn't care about her and simply picked up the broom, sweeping while sighing, oh, another pile of trash. Suddenly, she fell to her knees in despair. Her whole body was drenched in sweat, continuously pleading, Senior, please spare me. Jing coldly replied, I am just a servant, you don't need to bow to me like that, I can't accept it. These words made her even more frightened as she hurriedly begged him, Senior, I was wrong, I won't dare to come here and steal the magic formula again. I only hope that the senior can show mercy and spare my life. Jing looked at her coldly, you can get up. Why did you come here to secretly watch the scriptures? She asked him with a tearful face, looking innocent. Senior, does it mean that if I say something, you will let me go? In response to her question, Jing turned his back and said nothing. As if realizing the issue, she immediately said, I will speak right now. The Azure Sky sect is the oldest sect of the Yuheng River branch, and it is said that it holds dozens of magic formula spirit level books. I came here on a whim. Jing simply nodded quietly. So that's how it is. She continued to explain, the Yuheng River branch refers to the sects established near the Yuheng River, which includes dozens of sections. Although the Azure Sky sect is weak in strength, it has a long history, and there are high-level skills within the sect that piqued my greed. At this point, she immediately knocked her head on the ground like chopping wood. Senior, I am willing to be a cow or horse for you, as long as you spare my life. Jing did not want to say much and just told her, go quickly. She still couldn't believe her ears, her whole body trembling. She asked him again, Senior, are you really letting me go? Jing turned around, continued cleaning, and did not say anything further. Taking the opportunity, she got up still filled with fear. Before leaving, she shared what she knew with Jing. I heard some news, the young master of Jade River sect wants to form a marriage alliance with the young master of Azure Sky sect, taking the chance to profit from Azure Sky sect. She believed, if Azure Sky sect does not agree, Jade River sect will not easily give up. You must be careful, Senior. When everything was finished, the system asked him, do you want to merge with the Three Suns Spirit sword level? Jing gently picked up Zhang Qiu's sword, admiring the sword in his hand. He hadn't expected this person's divine weapon fly sword to be at the spirit level. The next step was to merge it, of course. His face became noticeably brighter, as this time he could finally level up. During the merging process, both swords emitted brilliant energy, and eventually, they successfully merged into a high-level Three Suns Spirit sword. In his hand was a sword radiating bright red flames, looking very powerful. He looked at it and wondered, I wonder how many divine weapons it will take to upgrade this sword to an immortal weapon. On the second day, in the servant room of Azure Sky Sect, Lu Chang was already banging on his door early in the morning, calling out, "Where is servant 27? Still with the same angry attitude and contempt, she shouted, "The sun is right above us, where were you last night, what were you doing?" Her yelling startled the nearby birds, which flew away. "Don't just stand there, hurry up and go clean the Sutra Pavilion for me." After that, Jing arrived at the Sutra Pavilion, yawning. This place had a total of 6 floors, with the first to 4th floors containing magic formulas at the mortal level, while the rest were at the spirit level. Yun Er was sitting inside the Sutra Pavilion, diligently practicing her cultivation. After some time, she sighed in disappointment, "Oh, the highest level magic formula of our Azure Sky sect is merely at the spirit level." She picked up a magic formula and, regardless of Jing standing beside her, continued to practice. It seemed that her endurance had reached its limit, and her body was drenched in sweat from the strain. Noticing this, Jing turned to look at Yun Er and noticed that the magic formula she was practicing was the Heaven's Unity technique. Lu Yun Er is definitely the most hardworking person in the Azure Sky sect, but unfortunately, her talent is a bit lacking. This magic formula is not suitable for her. Without much thought, he immediately made a decision, "Let me give you a hand then." Although it seemed on the surface that he was just sweeping the floor, in reality, he was directing his internal energy towards Yun Er sitting there. When his internal energy made contact with her body, she felt something. Instantly, she opened her eyes wide. That was dangerous, I almost overdid it just now. Luckily, that sound woke me up. She hurriedly turned to Jing and asked, "Was it you?" Jing looked at her with an innocent expression, "I just came here to clean." However, with her intelligence, she used reasoning to question him. The 6th floor is the core of the Azure Sky sect, displaying the most precious magic formulas. Ordinary disciples are not allowed to enter here, let alone servants. "Can you really clean here?" Suddenly, she clapped her hands together as if realizing something. She remembered Lu Chang happily humming a tune and thought, it must be Lu Chang being lazy, right? Jing expressed concern and asked her, "Wasn't the sound of cleaning a bit loud just now? Did it disturb the elder?" Yun Er sighed as she hugged her chest. "Just now, thanks to you, if I hadn't woken up in time, I would have definitely been bitten back very miserably." Then she picked up the magic formula again and walked towards the bookshelf. She put the magic formula back on the shelf, thinking that she had been too hasty. Her gaze couldn't help but show her worry as she spoke her thoughts aloud. "Recently, the expert demon sect has attacked the mountain gate, and the pressure from the Jade River sect has disturbed my mind." Jing calmly organized the bookshelf more neatly. Outside, a strange young man approached, looking and evaluating. Is this really the sect ancient tradition of the Azure Sky sect? This guy is known as Bai Jie, and his appearance looks quite weathered. With eyes full of anticipation, he exclaimed, "I wonder what surprises the Azure Sky sect can offer me." He stood in the square and used his internal energy to shout loudly, "I come to visit the Azure Sky sect, 9 Swords sect, Bai Jie." Hearing the challenge, all the disciples of the Azure Sky sect moved towards the square. Who dares to challenge our Azure Sky sect? It seems to be Bai Jie of the 9 Swords sect. One person recognized him and seemed worried. What, is it him? Jing didn't want to pay attention to this matter. He sighed and turned away. So noisy. At the sect representative room, it was also very lively. Sect Master Lu Ming wondered, "I don't understand why this crazy guy Bai Jie came here." Yun Er asked, "Could this be the genius swordsman of the 9 Sword sect?" Lu Ming shared what he knew to explain to her. Bai Jie is the #1 genius of the 9 Sword sect. Since he was a child, he has shown exceptional talent, and with Bai Teng making every effort to nurture him, his cultivation progresses by leaps and bounds. He recalled that 3 years ago, he started to make a name for himself, challenging dozens of sects around the Yuheng River, and went through 97 battles without ever losing. He is truly a super genius. The other elders expressed their worries. This guy might have a chance to reach the 4 realm in the future, a promising future in martial arts. The master was concerned. Those who are more talented have reportedly already reached the threshold of the three realm. What worried him the most was that the sect's disciples may not be his match. What should we do now? Should we go out to confront him? With the determination and resolve of a master, Lu Ming firmly said, since he has arrived, we should go out and greet him. Immediately after, they walked towards Bai Jie in the square. Upon seeing Lu Ming appear, he clasped his hands and bowed. Bai Jie from the Nine Sword sect, pay my respects to the seniors of the Azure Sky sect. Lu Ming calmly raised his hand to invite, no wonder you are a genius of the Nine Sword sect, having come all this way, why not come inside our sect for a cup of tea? Bai Jie smiled with a hint of disdain, no need for that, I believe the purpose of my visit to the Azure Sky sect is already clear to you, senior. Lu Ming stroked his beard and replied, I know a little, you must be here to challenge, right? He smiled confidently and recited a bit of his eloquence, I have heard that this place is the ancient D continent, and the Azure Sky sword formula in your sect is one of the spirit-level magic formulas, with an everlasting vitality that flows like a rushing river. He directly stated his intention, furthermore, I have heard that the young sect master Lu Yun-er of the Azure Sky sect practices this sword formula, and I am here today to seek some instruction. Yun-er felt extremely uneasy when he mentioned her name. She directly frowned and refused, I am rising to elder, so I cannot compete with you. He calmly replied, it's fine, wait until all the disciples of Azure Sky sect fail, then you can compete with me. The disciples beside him were extremely angry, cursing, how despicable, completely disregarding our Azure Sky sect, arrogant and conceited. Then a guy stepped up to ask Lu Ming's opinion, Master, let me spar with him. Lu Ming appeared pleased and immediately agreed, that's fine, but be careful. He walked straight towards Bai Jie, saying, Azure Sky sect, Yu Yang would like to learn. Bai Jie smiled mockingly upon seeing him, Nine Sword sect, Bai Jie. Yu Yang felt a bit tense and told him to draw his sword, but Bai Jie arrogantly responded, no need. This made Yu Yang draw his sword in extreme anger, you, arrogant fool. Immediately, Yu Yang unleashed a move called the Oceanic Horse Fist. Bai Jie merely glanced at him, his hand clenched, gathering strength, as Yu Yang charged forward and Bai Jie's fist was about to collide with his face. Suddenly, Bai Jie's face was etched with immense disappointment. With that, Yu Yang was knocked far away, while Bai Jie stood his ground and coldly said, I have already given way. He shook his head and sneered, too weak, truly disappointing. At this moment, all the disciples of the Azure Sky sect stepped back, their eyes not daring to meet Bai Jie's gaze. A tense silence ensued. After a while, everyone cautiously pointed at Bai Jie, commenting, this Bai Jie is too strong, no wonder he is the extraordinary talent of the Nine Sword sect. Everyone honestly expressed their thoughts, he is truly terrifying. Seeing the situation, Yun-er had no choice but to close her eyes and accept, let me go then. Lu Ming, hearing this, reluctantly called out, Yun-er, you. Yun-er interrupted him, stating, Yu Yang was defeated in just one move, the others are certainly not his match. Only I have the chance to defeat him. With that, she walked directly towards Bai Jie with hopeful eyes. He declared loudly, that's the spirit, let me broaden my horizons regarding the fame of the ancient sect. Yun-er frowned and drew her sword, as you wish. At this moment, Yun-er had poured all her strength into the sword, exuding a tremendous internal force. Bai Jie stroked his chin and assessed, indeed, there's some real power here, compared to that guy, she's stronger by quite a bit. Yu Yang's face was already bruised, and he had a lump on his head. How annoying, my name is Yu Yang. Taking advantage of his momentary distraction, Yun-er soared high into the air, executing a powerful move. Although he was a little surprised, he quickly counterattacked with a massive hand, two forces colliding with each other, one red and one green, making the entire space feel like it was about to explode. Yun-er noticed he hadn't drawn his sword yet, showing clear signs of displeasure. She swung her sword, creating giant waves aimed at him. Her continuous and fierce attacks left him struggling to defend himself. Ultimately, a surge of power was able to strike his body. Nevertheless, he smiled, very good, you are worthy of me drawing my sword. Yun-er continued her assault with eyes full of determination. Bai Jie drew his sword to defend against her strike. Yun-Er frowned, feeling his strength more distinctly. As he drew his sword, he simultaneously executed a counterattack towards her. Yun-Er unleashed a strike, and he was able to parry it. He continued to mock her, slow, too slow. As she crouched down, he thought, your sword is too slow. Bai Jie raised his sword high as if gathering strength into it. Then he swung a powerful strike towards her. If that's all you've got, then this can come to an end. His sword cut through Yun-Er's defenses effortlessly. She looked up with a worried expression, so strong. Her whole body was struggling to withstand his attack. A few seconds later, her sword began to crack upon colliding with his strength. Then, the sword broke in two, falling to the ground. Yun-Er's eyes widened, and she exclaimed, my sword is broken. Although she was trembling with fear, her will was resolute. I haven't lost yet, keep going. Lu Ming behind her sighed in acceptance, that's enough, you are not his opponent. The arrogant Bai Jie waved his hand, it's not even a challenge, I haven't even used my strength yet. Lu Elder had already lost. He looked at Lu Ming provocatively, if the Elder can't. So, what about the sect master? Lu Chang, hot-tempered, gritted his teeth and cursed at him, impudent, little guy Bai Jie, you are too arrogant. The other disciples joined in, you are insulting our Azure Sky sect, and if you dare to talk like that, don't blame us for taking action. He didn't want to engage with them, so he sneered, I was just joking. After saying that, he flew away on his sword. Forget it, excited to come here only to leave disappointed. When night fell, Bai Jie lay outside the Azure Sky sect's forest, lamenting, the sect master of Jade River deceived me, saying there were geniuses here, but they turned out to be a bunch of useless people. His eyes expressed clear disdain as he secretly calculated, if I train for a few more years, I can challenge the sect master of Azure Sky sect. At that time, I will ask them to show me the heavenly clear sword formula. Just then, a shadow approached him and asked, oh really? He was startled and jumped up, shouting, who is it? Come out here. The person was none other than Jing, still with that calm demeanor, stepping out. Bai Jie was taken aback and pointed at him, asking, who are you? He showed a hint of fear, silently thinking to himself, someone who can appear beside me without a sound is definitely not simple. And Jing smiled gently as usual, who I am is not important, what matters is that I want to find you to practice a bit. His entire body began to glow, by the way, leave the sword formula in your hands. Facing this surge of power, Bai Jie had to brace himself. Well, I didn't expect that among the disciples of the Azure Sky sect, there would be someone like you. You seem much stronger than that Lu Yun-Er. He hurriedly drew his sword, let me see what your strength is like. His first move emitted red lights, 9 sword secret technique, battle self-sealed. And Jing simply raised 2 of his fingers and easily caught his sword's trajectory. It seemed that his power was nothing against him. Bai Jie was astonished to the point of disbelief, how is this possible? And Jing sneered, echoing his words, is this your sword? Slow, too slow. Bai Jie gritted his teeth in frustration and murmured another technique, 9 sword secret technique, false self-sealed. He continuously demonstrated his strength by swinging his sword to cut down all the surrounding trees. And Jing eagerly awaited his power to approach. That was all he was waiting for, with a flick of his hand, his strength dispersed like a gust of wind. At this moment, Bai Jie was drenched in sweat, wide-eyed and speechless. His entire body unconsciously recoiled backward. And Jing continued to spread his hand, I will channel a bit of internal energy. The sword in Bai Jie's hand immediately flew toward Jing. He openly criticized, weak and slow. Holding his sword, he wanted to demonstrate a few basic moves. From a distance, a beam of light could be seen tearing through the sky. Soon after, Bai Jie stood beside, unable to believe his eyes, the sky, it's bright now. The Azure Sky sect's main hall suddenly lit up as if it were daytime. Lu Ming gathered everyone together, anxiously asking, where is Yun-Er? Lu Chang shook his head nervously, I don't know, after the competition ended, I haven't seen her anywhere. Lu Ming understood his daughter's mindset, so he helplessly sighed, that Bai Jie is indeed very skilled. If only we had disciples like him, I hope Yun Air can recover from this setback. The other disciples, upon hearing this statement, felt ashamed and did not dare to raise their heads to look straight ahead. Suddenly, they also noticed the gigantic pillar of light coming from within the forest. Lu Chang, seeing this, was equally alarmed. What is this? What is happening? Could it be that the demon sect has come to kill us here? Everyone immediately ran outside the square to see what it was. A young man pointed up at the sky in fright. Look up, the sky is bright. Elder Lu Ming had to acknowledge, this is sword light, and it is incredibly powerful. It must be the work of a true sword immortal. The pillar of light grew more and more intense, showing no signs of fading, causing everyone to look up at the night sky, which was unusually bright, as if it were daytime. Bai Jie witnessed one surprise after another, while Jing remained extremely calm. Finally, he decided to withdraw his power, causing the light to gradually diminish. Bai Jie, even just swallowing his saliva, felt a lot of tension. He could only look at him with eyes full of admiration. Sword immortal, this is definitely a sword immortal. Jing took out a book titled 9 Sword Secret Technique. Holding the book and the sword in hand, he smiled brightly and said, these 2 items are the price for your life. Bai Jie's attitude was now filled with respect as he asked him, are you a member of the Azure Sky sect, senior? Jing did not answer him but commanded, get lost, remember to always be humble. He quickly clasped his hands and obeyed him immediately. Bai Jie ran away but still had to be cautious, glancing back at Jing. The people of the Jade River sect truly do not deceive me. With a gaze full of admiration and fear, he looked at the expert from the Azure Sky sect, who was also a peerless sword immortal. The next morning, Jing was still standing in the forest studying Bai Jie's secret technique book. After finishing his study, he evaluated the items in his hands. Even if a mosquito is small, it is still meat. He then used the system to fuse the 2 together. Instantly, both were merged into one, creating a sword and a higher-level secret technique. The sword had reached the high-grade spirit sword level, while the secret technique formed the Ghost Valley sword formula of the Emperor grade. Jing was overjoyed because he had finally leveled up to the immortal grade sword formula. Spiritual principles level up a bit slowly, it seems we must think of new methods. The scene shifts to the bustling street filled with people, where everyone is discussing recent events. Have you all heard? Bai Jie has challenged and failed against the Azure Sky sect. One person, seemingly skeptical, asked, is it true or false? Bai Jie is a genius in sword Dao, having never lost in challenges against the 7 major sections. Those standing nearby also found this story a bit implausible. How could Bai Jie lose? Who managed to defeat Bai Jie? Could it be that the sect master of the Azure Sky sect personally intervened? A waiter chimed in with what he knew. According to Bai Jie, it seems it was a young disciple of the Azure Sky sect. Others had to accept this reality. Could the Azure Sky sect really have such an extraordinary disciple? It seems ancient sects cannot be underestimated. In a private room on the 2nd floor, 2 people were seated at a tea table, discussing matters. One of them is the young sect master of the Jade River sect, Tang Wenfeng. He clearly showed his displeasure. Father, Bai Jie has lost, which means the Azure Sky sect has been hiding their true strength. So our plan, sitting opposite him was the sect master of the Jade River sect, Tang Qiu Bai, who still wore a smug smile. The plan hasn't changed. No matter how strong the Azure Sky sect becomes, it can never be stronger than the demon sect. Behind us is the demon sect. Hearing these comforting words, Tang Wenfeng also felt quite pleased. Father is right. However, Tang Qiu Bai was still troubled about what choice to make. Helping the demon sect find a person named Jing, while we use the pretext of acquiring spiritual principles but end up not being able to strengthen ourselves, both of these tasks are essential. Tang Wenfeng became curious when he heard this name. Father, who exactly is this Jing? Why does the demon sect insist on finding this person? His father could only shake his head. I'm not sure either. It seems to be related to the demon empress of the demon sect. Tang Wenfeng was immediately taken aback. The demon empress? Wasn't she supposed to have passed away 300 years ago? According to what was recorded, the demon empress was the top expert of the demon sect, and all three sects of heaven, earth, and human of the demon sect were under her command. Tang Qiubai recalled and continued. At that time, the reputation of the demon sect resounded like the midday sun, unmatched by anyone. Even Tang Wenfeng knew about this. It is said that every time she appears, she wears a bronze mask, and no one has seen her true face. The image of the demon empress emerges with great beauty and long flowing hair. Because of the mask, some people believe that she is incredibly ugly. Tang Qiubai shook his head in dismay, not wanting to speak about it any further. We should not probe too much into the affairs of the demon sect. It is enough to obtain the spiritual principles of the Azure Sky sect. At the Azure Sky sect, everyone was gathered. Elder Lu Ming spoke up. You must have heard about Bai Jia being defeated, right? Everyone exchanged worried glances and then all nodded in acknowledgement. Seeing this, Lu Ming asked them, everyone is spreading rumors that the one who defeated Bai Jia is one of our disciples. Who do you think could have done it? With her thoughts, Yun Er stood up to express, on that day, all the disciples were present at the scene to observe the battle, so no one would have left midway to fight with Bai Jia. Another disciple boldly spoke up. Elder Lu is right, if our Azure Sky sect really has such a powerful disciple, how could we not know about it? Yun Er was also puzzled. Could it be that this disciple has been hiding their power all along? One disciple immediately opposed this view. It can't be, how could a monster of a disciple like that exist here? Moreover, there is really no need to hide their strength. They imagined a figure in the shadows who defeated Bai Jia. It must be that Bai Jia was too arrogant and provoked some enemy outside. That person didn't want to reveal their identity, so they used Azure Sky sect as an excuse to act. Sect Master Lu Ming analyzed. Remember the mysterious person who dealt with the demon sect a few days ago? We still haven't figured out who they are. Perhaps these two incidents were caused by the same person. Then he decisively ordered, investigate everything for me, see if there were any disciples missing from the scene. At this moment, Lu Chang also raised a question. Should we investigate the servant disciples too? Having a good opportunity, but Lu Ming thought, forget about the servant disciples. They all had either very mediocre talents or had never trained, so it couldn't have been done by a servant disciple. Lu Chang nodded slightly, thinking that he had overthought it. It really couldn't have been done by a servant disciple. The scene shifted to the riverside, where Yun Er was sitting with her feet in the cool water. She wasn't feeling very comfortable as she kept thinking about that mysterious figure. Could this person really be a disciple of the Azure Sky sect as rumored? Deep down, she hoped that if this person was indeed a disciple of the Azure Sky sect, that would be great. After saying this to herself, she countered, Lu Yun Er, stop daydreaming. How could someone like that be in the Azure Sky sect? If it were true, everyone would have discovered it long ago. At that moment, she heard the sound of a broom sweeping leaves next to her. Yun Er quickly recognized An Jing, a familiar servant disciple. She smiled and asked him, are you responsible for cleaning here? An Jing looked at her and replied, that's right, I have been here sweeping for about an hour. He then pointed to different areas and introduced, I always pass by here. Sutra Pavilion, the back courtyard, and the mountain have all been cleaned by me. Unexpectedly, Yun Er was surprised by my words. Have you been cleaning here for an entire watch? Her eyes clearly showed concern, only daring to think to herself that she had been careless, not realizing for a long time that there was another person beside her, fortunately a disciple of the Azure Sky sect. She gently lifted her foot from the water. It seems you have worked hard. Standing opposite me, she made a suggestion, you've been here for 3 years, let me talk to Lu Chang to promote you to a formal disciple, what do you think? An Jing immediately opposed this offer, forget it, my cultivation is not sufficient, and I cannot disrupt the sect's rules. He also took the opportunity to reiterate the rules here. The current cultivating immortals world is divided into 9 major realms. Only by entering the first realm, the foundation establishment, can one be considered to have officially embarked on the path of cultivation and become a disciple of the Azure Sky sect. Yun Er could only look at him in admiration. His heart is calm, with no intention of competing. She seemed to silently express her feelings, if only I could be like you, then I would no longer have to feel such sorrow. An Jing recalled the image from 3 years ago when he was trampled by the disciples in the sect. Every day, they bullied him. That night, he sat lost in thought by the stream when Yun Er approached. Seeing his sad expression, she asked, "Junior brother, what's wrong?" And Jing was startled and stood up upon seeing her, Lu's senior sister. At that moment, Yun-er walked over, patted his shoulder, and said, "No need to stand on ceremony. Is it because you're not used to being away from home?" And Jing scratched his head, shy and stammering, "No, it's not." Yun-er smiled innocently back then, "Unlike now, from now on, Azure Sky Sect will be your second home. If you have any problems, just come find Lu's senior sister." Returning to the present, and Jing noticed Yun-er deep in thought and walked over. "Is Lu's senior sister still thinking about the battle with Bai Jie?" Yun-er slightly lowered her head and honestly said, "I am wondering who ultimately defeated Bai Jie. Is this person a disciple here? If so, who would he be and what does he look like?" And Jing quickly replied, "I think he must look very ugly. If not, why would they hide it from everyone?" Yun-er waved her hand, shaking her head in rebuttal, "That's not necessarily true, don't speak nonsense. That person's cultivation is above mine, so if he hears, it won't be good." And Jing smiled brightly and sincerely replied, "Don't worry, he won't pay attention." Yun-er always worried about one thing, which was the demon sect. Why do they keep coming here searching for someone named Jing? She was so angry that steam seemed to rise from her head due to this absurdity. Clearly, they are making something out of nothing, intentionally looking for a reason to trouble us. He didn't know how to answer her because honestly, he didn't know why they were looking for him either. Yun-er could only mumble to herself, "What do you think, if the demon sect really comes here to kill, what will you do?" And Jing firmly grasped the broom in his hand, repeating her words with determined eyes, "Lu's senior sister, you may have forgotten, but I will not forget what you said to me. Azure Sky Sect is my second home." He placed his hand over his chest as a declaration, "For Lu's senior sister, for this home. Junior brother will definitely resist and fight against the demon sect." Hearing this, she was a bit happier and said, "Junior brother can rest assured, sister will absolutely not let a servant disciple like you deal with the demon sect, senior sister will definitely protect you." And Jing thought, in times of trouble, why bother distinguishing between high and low? As if suddenly remembering, Yun-er then asked him, "Junior brother, I still don't know your name, do I?" And Jing asked her, "Senior sister, if I say my name is Jing, would you believe me?" Yun-er looked at him with a completely disbelieving gaze. "I never expected that a gentle person like you, not different from a block of wood, could also joke." She waved her hand as if losing faith in life. "The Jing that the demon sect wants to find must definitely be some important figure. How can it be a little servant like you?" He didn't care much about this issue, so he told her, "From now on, you can just call me 27. In his mind, he just shrugged as if to say, "I knew you wouldn't believe it. So don't blame me for not telling you." The name 27 seemed to please Yun-er very much, making her smile brilliantly. In the evening in the kitchen, Jing was tidying up while murmuring, "I wonder what the demon sect wants to do now. They didn't find it last time, so they definitely won't give up." While speaking, he reached into the steamer and took out something. Cleaning this kitchen has the added benefit of being able to comfortably eat these treasures, but for me, these things are a bit low in grade. Suddenly, he saw someone outside preparing to open the door. And Jing quickly hid behind. "That fat mouse is coming again." He hurriedly put the item back into the steamer and quickly looked for a place to hide. The person who entered was Lu Chang. With a sly smile, she looked around and quietly approached the pot on the stove. "It's so late, surely there's no one else here, right?" Her expression could not hide her excitement as she stared at the pot. "This place is my paradise." Before opening the pot, she rubbed her hands together, and her mouth was about to drool. "I wonder what's inside. My cute little ones, wait for my favor." Seeing this scene, Jing could only sigh in exasperation. Here she is again to steal food. Recalling her not-so-bright past, he was still angry. "Every time after eating, she never cleans up, and the next day she scolds me like it's a downpour." Lu Chang began to open the lid, feeling the rich aroma wafting up. Inside were 4 items along with a fruit with bite marks from Jing. She immediately picked up that fruit, her eyes still bright and unaware. "Red fruit, this is red fruit. Although it's only 10 years old, it is a rare delicacy." Before getting to work, she just licked her lips. "Sweetie, I won't be polite anymore." Then, she directly brought the red fruit to her mouth and took a bite. the sensation was indescribable, melting as soon as it touched her tongue, permeating her mouth. And Jing could only shake his head, unable to withstand it. This old lady's fruit really has someone who loves to eat everywhere. Unconsciously, he took a step back, suddenly noticing a formation appearing behind him. And Jing turned around in surprise. Is there really a formation here? Before he could react, the formation began to activate, and he quickly realized this was a teleportation formation. Beside him, hearing a noise, Lu Chang paused and turned to ask, "Who is it?" She hurried toward that direction, but there was no one behind the door. No one. Could it be that I was mistaken? The scene before her was the forbidden area of the Azure Sky sect, a place that looked like a hellish prison. The person imprisoned there was surrounded by numerous chains and subtly flinched as he realized something. A smile spread across his face after so many years, exclaiming, "Great, someone has entered the forbidden area, finally someone has come to the forbidden area." His eyes glowed red like a demon, laughing loudly, after 300 years, someone has finally arrived. His expression was filled with unsettling excitement. "Azure Sky, you have bound me for 300 years, just let me absorb a bit of blood and I can restore my strength and break free from this formation. With my 5-realm strength, no sect here can be my opponent." Outside, Jing had fallen into the formation, observing his surroundings, still trying to understand where he was. Suddenly, he heard a chilling voice from inside, "Eat his flesh." Before him were countless eerie zombies, staring at him with glowing red eyes. "The food is so delicious, and it's the first time I've seen such a youthful face." And Jing looked at them, furrowing his brow as he realized this was an evil object. One of them eagerly rushed forward but was swatted away by him with a decisive strike. This unfortunate creature immediately vanished. The others seemed astonished to see someone fighting back against them, their mouths agape in shock. "Who are you?" And Jing asked seriously while fighting off the others. "Where is this place?" They mocked him in response to his question. "Little guy, you dare to barge in without knowing where this is? Then you should die here." And Jing didn't want to waste words on them. He raised his hand, forming a gigantic silhouette, intending to show them what respect means. In an instant, all the strange creatures were blown away by his move like a gust of wind. He retracted his aura but felt a bit tense. This place was different from others. The evil energy here was very dense. Lu Yun-er and his son were at the Ancestor Hall, paying homage to the tablets of the sect masters who founded the Azure Sky sect. He came here with longing, hoping the sect would be protected. "May the ancestors of the Azure Sky sect in the immortal world safeguard our Azure Sky sect." After that, both of them carefully and respectfully placed the offerings on the incense burner. Suddenly, a gust of black energy appeared around the altar. Yun-er was the first to notice this strange phenomenon. "Father, look at this." Lu Ming's face turned pale upon seeing the black energy. "This is evil energy, this is not good, something is happening in the forbidden area." But she still didn't know what the evil energy was related to, so she cautiously approached him and asked, "Father, what kind of evil energy?" According to what he knew from the sect's records, it's from an expert of the evil Tao that the master sealed. His strength is at the 4-realm peak. Yun-er was very surprised after hearing her father mention the high level of this figure. What? Lu Ming was very worried and knew he could not stay here any longer. "Let's hurry to the Forbidden Hall. If this evil being escapes, we will be doomed." And Jing was advancing into the innermost part of the cave. The deeper he went, the thicker the evil energy became. Ahead was a path leading to a place separate from the sect's forbidden area, with an altar in the middle. Upon seeing him appear, the evil beings here scrambled for the prey. "Fresh blood and flesh, don't fight over it, this is mine." And Jing didn't want to waste time tangled up with them, so he drove them away. "Get out." The group of spirits saw they couldn't match him and fled in a panic. "So scary, run fast, who is this? Isn't the Azure Sky sect already in decline? I didn't expect there to be an expert of this level." The evil Tao expert was furious when he saw his minions being driven away. "You little guy, not bad, you've got some power." And Jing noticed the man who was sealed in front of him. "Who are you?" He didn't hide his identity. "My name is Xie Yuan." And Jing was surprised to find him here. "You are Xie Yuan." And Jing tried to recall from the records. 300 years ago, a peerless individual named Xia Yuan appeared along the Yuheng River, known for absorbing others' cultivation to strengthen himself, leading to the destruction of the Earth Spirit sect. If this continued, more lives would be lost, so eventually, the then ancestor of the Azure Sky sect took action, using his death to seal him within the sect. The place where he was imprisoned later became a forbidden area, and Jing pondered this unexpected discovery. I didn't expect the kitchen to have a formation linked to the forbidden area, allowing me to break in here. Xia Yuan was very happy when someone mentioned his name. I have been imprisoned for so many years, I didn't expect that there are still people who remember me. Facing the evil spirits did not scare him. You have not turned to ashes yet. It seems you have reached the four realm of yin and yang convergence. According to the records left behind, reaching this realm grants a lifespan of 1,000 years, the ability to fly and shake the earth, and makes gods and demons avoid you. Once you take action, you can compete against an entire nation. Xia Yuan's eyes glowed red as he looked at him. That's right, little guy, aren't you afraid? And Jing maintained his calm and replied to him. Why should I be afraid? The bloodthirstiness of a demon became increasingly evident on his face. The founder of your Azure Sky sect is also at the Four Realm, and they sacrificed their lives to seal me. He wanted him to reveal his own purpose. Aren't you still sealed right now? Xia Yuan laughed loudly as if mocking him. So it turns out that because of this seal, you are not feeling fear. He broke the chains that had been enchanted. Over the past 300 years, the seal has gradually weakened. I have regained 2 layers of power, and by absorbing your blood and flesh, I can immediately break the seal. And Jing, without fear, treated it as a funny story, so that's how it is, no wonder you are so happy. His purpose was gradually revealed. As long as I cultivate for a few more decades, not only will I fully restore my strength, but I may even have the chance to break into the 5 realm. Xia Yuan wanted to scare him out of his wits. I want to slaughter the entire Azure Sky sect. No, the whole Yuheng River. Are you afraid? And Jing still responded indifferently, not afraid. Xia Yuan felt like he was going crazy because of his attitude. Are you an idiot? You will die, everyone in the Azure Sky sect will die, do you understand? He continued to provoke him. Are you telling a joke? Xia Yuan felt underestimated. A joke? Let me show you whether this is a joke or not. Although the seal had not been completely broken, he could still use his power to control the evil energy within him. And Jing remained still, ignoring the approaching evil energy. He sneered, a disciple of the Azure Sky sect, a fool who doesn't even know how to dodge. However, he couldn't evade it either. Unexpectedly, he had created a layer of defense to block the evil energy from attacking him. Xia Yuan offered a bit of praise for Jing. Little guy, you did well, turns out you have some strength. Kill me. Many streams of evil energy attacked Jing, but they were all blocked by the layer of defense once again. This only made him angrier. You thought you could stop me so easily, how naive. However, Xia Yuan was so angry that his hands shook. He broke the sealing pillar of the Azure Sky sect ancestor, and this pillar became a weapon to attack him. Xia Yuan believed this time he would take him down. Little guy, you're definitely dead. Not just one, but 2 pillars advanced, yet Jing only executed a simple move, able to block its attack with just one hand. They all turned into rubble that fell to the ground. You. Xia Yuan did not expect him to leisurely approach him. Impossible. And Jing just asked a simple question, is this really your strength? But this struck at his self-esteem. If it weren't for the seal, why could I only exert 2 layers of strength? Once again, he taunted him, but I haven't even used up 1 layer yet. Xia Yuan was astonished at his magical power. Who exactly are you? And Jing did not reveal his identity. I am just a servant disciple of the Azure Sky sect. The ghosts around also lamented. Who is this person? So powerful, could it be that after hundreds of years a truly extraordinary figure has appeared? Xia Yuan could not accept that he was unable to defeat him. It can't be, are you joking with me? You are definitely not a servant disciple. But that was just his suspicion, while the truth remained as it was. But I am a servant disciple. Xia Yuan was still intent on having Jing's flesh and blood. Whoever you are. He created a massive vortex of evil energy. You all must die today. The whirlwind sought to annihilate the ghosts around. Please don't, Xia Yuan Lord, spare us. He wanted to force them to become his subordinates. But that didn't worry him. Join my force. Absorb the spirits to make yourself stronger. Quite interesting. Indeed, he had absorbed a lot more power and looked much more terrifying. All the talismans that had been enchanted fell to the ground. The pillars used in this place activated at his command. I originally wanted to wait 2 more years to absorb them and break free from this seal. Xia Yuan frantically wanted to escape from this place. Thus, it would only restore about 70 to 80% of my strength, but now that you're here, escaping early isn't a bad idea. But he mocked this foolish decision. Dying sooner and living here for 3 more years isn't all that different. These words sounded like a provocation to him. Little guy, sharp-tongued, today I will take your flesh and blood. All the pillars simultaneously aimed to strike him, and Jing remained calm and summoned his sword. Slash. As soon as he finished speaking, he cut through the sturdy pillars, and in an instant, everything turned into small shattered stones. He looked up at Xie Yuan. Earlier self-satisfied, he realized that Jing was not someone easy to deal with. Not good, and Jing continued to slash toward where he was standing. The forbidden area began to tremble due to the impact of the battle between the two. Xie Yuan quickly looked for an escape route. This guy is much stronger than I imagined. He watched the evil Dao move and smiled. Want to run, huh? And Jing continued to swing his sword, creating a powerful force. You can't escape. Xie Yuan felt fear because he didn't want to be annihilated yet. No, please. He knew he would struggle to get through this challenge, so he immediately turned and pleaded. Spare my life, I am willing to be your ox or horse. Of course, he still showed no mercy to this wicked person, no. As soon as he defeated him, he scoffed, that's all you can do. However, at this moment, Lu Ming led Yun Er to the forbidden area, and here it was. But as soon as they arrived, everything suddenly shook violently. He feared that Xie Yuan would escape. Such a commotion, could it be that this four-realm being is about to emerge? At that time, not only would the Azure Sky sect be destroyed, but even the Yuheng River would be in danger. Yun Er did not expect his power to be so great. Could the demonic four-realm be so powerful? A strange light appeared in the forbidden area, spreading everywhere, and Lu Ming quickly warned his daughter, be careful. It turned out that it was Xie Yuan being burned by Jing's move, no, spare me. At that moment, the sect master of the Azure Sky sect opened his eyes, and Yun Er wanted to see what was happening. Suddenly, everything was as if no disturbance had ever occurred. The commotion disappeared. She asked her father about the strange phenomenon earlier, was that sound just now from a demon? Lu Ming also speculated the same, it must be. But she still had one thing she didn't understand, was that evil spirit just begging for mercy? He also realized that this was similar to his own child, that's right, I heard it too, there must be some reason for this. Yun Er, still just a child, thought somewhat simply, Father, there must be someone secretly protecting us, it must be. For him, this was not a simple matter, the mysterious person defeated the expert of the demon sect, defeated by Jia, and suppressed the evil spirit of the four realm. This is something that can't be done by an ordinary person. Contrary to her father, Yun Er looked forward to knowing this person. Father, the more mysterious this person is, do you have no clues at all? Lu Ming also couldn't guess who this person was. No, after thinking it through, I still don't know who it is, but this person is definitely very strong, and moreover, they have no ill will towards the Azure Sky sect. Yun Er was very eager to meet this person. If this person is willing to help us, then wouldn't the Azure Sky sect have hope? But we must also follow their will. If they do not wish to reveal themselves, we cannot force them. If not, it is difficult to avoid causing him displeasure. She could only accept to follow her father's words. Father, I understand. Who is this person, and what does he look like? He did not want to mention this matter any further. Let's go, don't disturb this senior any longer. He led his daughter away from the forbidden area. Thanks to the senior, we have escaped this great danger. She turned back to express her gratitude. Thank you, senior, and quickly followed her father away from the place. And Jing had not yet left the forbidden area. He walked slowly and wanted to explore more things. Suddenly, something caught his attention. What is this? There were many books scattered messily on the stone surface. He bent down to take a look, listening to the C Technique Spiritual Principles Spirit Level Intermediate. I didn't expect this to be an intermediate spirit level. After rummaging through the room, and Jing finally stopped to look at a book. I have been cleaning the Sutra Pavilion at Azure Sky Sect for 3 years, and I haven't discovered a single Spiritual Principles Spirit Level book, yet here there is an intermediate Spirit Level one. And Jing placed his hand on the book and exclaimed, Fortune-telling technique, returning to the source spiritual principles. He slammed his hands down on the table decisively. After all, they are all spiritual principles spirit level, even advanced spirit level. Could it be that these are the lost spiritual principles of the Azure Sky Sect? The Azure Sky Sect near the Yuheng River was originally a very ancient and powerful sect, but for some unknown reason, the spiritual principles sect disappeared, causing the Azure Sky Sect to fall into despair. Later, the Azure Sky Sect was oppressed and bullied by others, and disciples within the sect were continuously slaughtered, leading to the current situation. Thinking of this, and Jing felt an explosion in his heart. Right now I lack these spiritual principles, and if I can integrate them into the Deluo spiritual principles, who knows, it might allow my Deluo spiritual principles to reach the immortal level. Looking at the system reporting that the spirit level could be integrated, and Jing supported himself with his hands and sighed after a while. The system again asked if he wanted to integrate, and Jing immediately pointed at the box to agree to the integration. Watching the screen display the message, integration successful, he slightly curled his lips into a smile. In the forbidden area behind the Azure Sky Sect, thunder and lightning appeared in the sky along with red beams emerging from a magic array. The disciples on the mountain suddenly noticed and exclaimed, "Look over there, a celestial phenomenon, behind the mountain, it's behind the mountain." The strange sight in the sky increasingly darkened the heavens. Could it be that an extraordinary prodigy has emerged, or perhaps some divine weapon left behind by the master? At this moment, Jing was in the spirit-level fusion space, surrounded by a sea of flames. Sitting on the ground, Jing's gaze was determined. I've reached the celestial level. Spiritual principles have reached the celestial level, so my cultivation speed has increased several times. Is this the benefit of the celestial magic formula? He looked at his bright red palm. My strength is increasing rapidly, and the stakes I must face are growing larger. The next day, the disciples gathered under the sect, discussing animatedly. Last night, an anomaly appeared in the forbidden area. Did you all hear about it? This is something everyone in Azure Sky Sect knows. It said that the divine weapon of our ancestor has appeared. Such a shocking phenomenon. Could it be a high-level spirit-level divine weapon? After hearing these words, Jing stroked his chin. I didn't expect that the low-level celestial magic formula I fused last night would cause such a commotion. At that moment, Lu Chang and Lu Yun air burst in energetically. Lu Chang pointed directly at the faces of several disciples. All of you stand still and behave. Her expression showed no sign of joy. Eyes darting from side to side. If you have gathered enough, listen to me clearly. After the disciples finished lining up, Lu Chang looked around once more and shouted, Lu Elder's red fruit was stolen last night. Which shameless little thief did this? Step forward now. Jing felt angry at her fierce demeanor, stealing and then making a scene. Aren't you the shameless little thief? The disciples looked at each other in fear, sweat dripping down their faces. It wasn't me, I was cleaning in front of the hall last night. Lu Elder, it wasn't me either, I was cultivating in the heavenly origin land last night. If they hadn't done anything, how could anyone confess? The disciples looked anxiously at Lu Chang, who ground her teeth. What, do you dare to act but not admit it? She pointed and yelled, 27, where were you last night? Jing, feeling the suspicion towards her, remained calm, replying to the elder, the disciple was sleeping. Upon hearing this, Lu Chang smirked, tisk, sleeping. Is there anyone to prove that? Jing crossed her arms and glanced dismissively, no. Yun Air behind them watched this scene helplessly. Lu Chang seemed to be on the verge of exploding. Normally, you are greedy for food and lazy to work. Honestly, tell me, did you steal the red fruit? Upon hearing this, Yun-er found it hard to accept and frowned in displeasure. Seeing Lu Chang's smug expression after blaming her, and Jing forced a smile. Greedy for food and lazy. Is she talking about me? At that moment, Lu Chang turned back and prompted Lu Yun-er. Lu's senior sister, as I see it, we absolutely cannot let a precious genius like him stay in the kitchen any longer. There will always be mice stealing food. What do you think? Should we forgive him this time since it's his first offense? She looked at her with sparkling eyes, hoping for agreement. But at that moment, Yun-er turned to see Jing shaking her head vigorously. No way, she said with an embarrassed smile. Although she often snacks, she really didn't eat anything last night. However, Lu Chang's attitude changed to annoyance, and he turned back to scold him. Shut up. Do you know that stealing property from the sect violates the rules? How dare you make excuses? Be careful for your life. At this point, Lu Yun-er waved her hand and spoke up. Forget it, it's just a red fruit. If the disciple has eaten it, then it's fine, just don't let it happen again. Lu Chang had a very gentle attitude towards Yun-er. Senior sister is indeed generous and kind-hearted. After saying that, she patted her chest happily. Fortunately, 27 saved me. Once again, Lu Chang pointed directly at Jing. 27, why aren't you thanking Lu Elder? If I find out again, I won't spare you. Jing's face turned dark with anger, being wrongly accused. You are the thief, and pretending to be a good person is also you. Lu Chang arrogantly pressed on, what are you standing there for? Speak up. Jing awkwardly clasped her hands, thank you, Lu Elder, for your generosity. She thought to herself, forget it, it's better to avoid trouble. The area spread quickly, and soon the sect's guards were called to the forbidden area one after another. Tang Wenfeng was stunned, staring wide-eyed at the array before him. What is that phenomenon? The sect master of Jade River sect was also curious and came to check. Could it be a legendary treasure? Grand Elder of Demon sect, Mo Tianxing, looked rather grim. It may not necessarily be a treasure. Tang Qiubai asked out of curiosity, does Grand Elder know something else? Mo Tianxing unexpectedly turned to. This is the celestial path of Tian, which is also the 6 realms of heavenly light, and only the divine level magic formula can possess this. Tang Wenfeng was taken aback. What? A divine level magic formula? Old Qiu Bai's face tensed. So there is a divine level magic formula in the Azure Sky sect? A divine level magic formula transcends spirit level. It is said that the speed of cultivation of the divine level magic formula is 10 times faster than that of the spirit level magic formula. No sect in the Yuheng River has a divine level magic formula. Mo Tianxing turned his back to look at the blazing red array in the sky. It must be so. In our demon sect, we rarely see a divine level magic formula. It is said that the 9 rings of light surrounding it are a divine level magic formula, but this is just a rumor. When Feng was disheartened, is there really a divine level magic formula in the world? I always thought it only existed in legends. Seeing the expressions of the disciples and Tang Qiubai's father-son duo, Tianxing replied, yes, but don't mention it, I have never seen a divine level magic formula either. Tang Wenfeng frowned. It is truly hard to imagine how powerful a peak divine level magic formula would be. Tang Qiubai glanced at his son and began to calculate, don't even think about a heavenly gift like a divine level magic formula. But if this time we can kill the Azure Sky sect and obtain the high-level magic formula, then our Jade River sect can also regain its strength. Over here, Old Man Mo smiled slightly and continued, the high-level magic formula is already a rare item. It truly deserves to be the most ancient sect technique of the Yuheng River. It is unexpected that only in a place with such talent and spiritual energy can there be someone the Demon Empress wants to find. After hearing this explanation from Tianxing, Tang Wenfeng hurriedly said, rest assured, Mo Grand Elder, this time, even if we have to turn the Azure Sky sect upside down, we will definitely find Jing. Mo Tianxing joyfully grabbed Tang Wenfeng's shoulder, good, if you find Jing, then at that time, our demon sect will take care of you during the Western region's competition. Tang Wenfeng was visibly delighted upon hearing this, thank you, Great Elder, for your guidance. Switching scenes to the Azure Sky sect, in the manager's room, Jing was called to stand before Lu Chang. She sat comfortably with her legs crossed. enjoying grapes, 27 little guy, you're something, even daring to steal from Lu Elder. With that, she leisurely popped a grape into her mouth, her gaze penetrating as she looked at him. And Jing felt helpless. Lu Elder knows I don't have any, and after saying that, he pouted, secretly cursing. It is indeed like robbing while shouting. Receiving this answer made Lu Chang's expression change. Are you still so stubborn? Forget it, I have guided you for 3 years. This time I will help you withstand it. Anyone who looks at her would think she is very good, but in fact, she is secretly laughing. This 27 is usually dull, seems foolish, it is most suitable for him to wear a pot on his head. Seeing the satisfied expression on her face made Jing look down on her. How can an elder be so shameless, not only not knowing shame but also putting on airs towards me? Hey, little guy, do you not know how to thank me? And Jing stood in front of her, pretending to agree, feeling irritated. Lu Elder, how do you want your disciple to thank you? The disciple has no surplus items. After saying that, Jing secretly felt pleased. Well, there is still something long. Hearing Jing say that, the slender hand that was holding the bunch of grapes dropped down on the table. Lu Chang posed alluringly. Come here and massage my back, I have eaten a bit too much recently. She pushed her hair to the side, revealing her chest and sharp eyes. I am a little tired now. Jing complied and immediately took a step closer. Stepping behind Lu Chang, Jing patted her on the shoulder a few times. Is this how? Lu Chang had a satisfied expression, she was delighted, yes, right here, a bit stronger. Feeling very pleased with Jing, she seemed to bless her, follow me from now on, be obedient and listen to me, whatever I say goes, this elder will provide you with delicacies. Jing was taken aback, I can have delicacies even without following you, she thought, but in the end, Jing still acted obediently. Lu Elder is right. As the atmosphere gradually fell into silence, suddenly fireworks erupted outside the door. Both of them stood in shock, what's happening? Lu Chang stood up suddenly, looking worried, not good, something happened at the main hall. After saying this, she quickly moved to the door and leaped onto her sword, flying straight toward the sect. At the sect's grandstand, numerous elders and black-clad disciples were also flying in. The group of disciples from the sect was returning when Tang Qiubai's group of black-clad individuals landed. The loud noise startled the Azure Sky sect disciples, who quickly turned around in shock. Who are you, bold enough to invade our Azure Sky sect? Tang Qiubai looked cunningly. Lu Ming, come out, you are not qualified to speak with me. Seeing the group of disciples ignoring him, Tang Qiubai spread his arms and unleashed spiritual energy. Immediately, the area where he directed the spiritual energy exploded loudly, and debris flew everywhere. The disciples were confused, who is this person, his strength is so powerful. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in the distance, Tang Qiubai, Tang Qiubai. Hearing that familiar voice, the old man and his son were pleased. Lu sect master, long time no see. Looking at the beautiful figure, Tang Wenfeng began to think wildly, is this woman Lu Yunair? Truly, as the rumors say, a stunning beauty. It would be good if the Azure Sky sect agrees. Lu Ming approached, angrily stroking his beard. Tang sect master, you have ill intentions, don't you? Seeing the Azure Sky sect's pillar reduced to 100 pieces before him, Tang Qiubai narrowed his eyes. Considering himself superior, I came this time for a joyful matter, how could it be ill intentions? Yunair showed no goodwill towards him, glaring, speak plainly, no need to beat around the bush. Tang Wenfeng arrogantly urged his father to speak. My son, Wenfeng, has always admired Elder Lu of the Azure Sky sect. I, Tang, have come to befriend Elder Lu of the Azure Sky sect. The disciples of the Azure Sky sect are all shocked upon hearing this. Does Tang Wenfeng want to marry Elder Lu? Even Yunair found it hard to believe and frowned. The members of the Azure Sky sect present protested, the Jade River sect indeed has ambitions, absolutely not. That's right, agreeing to this would lead Master Lu into a tiger's mouth. Lu Ming was fuming, his brows nearly touching each other. This matter cannot be taken lightly. I still want to think it over before responding to Master Tang. Tang Qiubai waved his hand as if it were not very important. Think away, Master Lu, we will wait here. Lu Ming wanted to chase him away but felt embarrassed to do so. It seems a bit off, Tang Qiubai frowned. What's off? I'm fine, I just hope to hear Elder Lu's answer and that Elder Lu won't disappoint me. Yun Er felt as if struck by lightning, standing frozen in place. Lu Ming, concerned for his daughter, clenched his teeth. It seems Tang Qiubai won't let this go easily today. Lu Ming reached a dead end and could only quickly reply, I am a talentless and unworthy girl, I fear I cannot reach the level of the esteemed young sect master. Tang Qiubai frowned in displeasure at the easy rejection. Oh, it seems Lu's sect master looks down on our Jade River sect. Seeing Yun Er's worried expression, Lu Ming awkwardly explained, Tang master exaggerates, this matter requires mutual willingness, so how can it be said that I look down on it? Tang Qiubai was infuriated, his eyes wide. Old man, you are quite something, do you not value my son Wenfeng? Lu Ming was taken aback. What Tang master says is simply reckless. He felt uneasy, it seemed that Tang Qiubai had intentionally come to stir up trouble today. Rejected and furious, Qiubai shot forward. People of Azure Sky Sect, stop wasting words. Lu Ming, today I want to see based on what you look down on my son Wenfeng. Seeing the old man with the surname Tang wanting to escalate things, Lu Ming quickly instructed his daughter to step back. Tang Qiubai is from the Three Realms. Lu Yunair complied and quickly retreated. Qiubai, enraged, rushed forward like a moth to a flame, but unfortunately, he thought Lu Ming would take his strike head-on, only to find that he had quickly pulled back. Tang Qiubai continued to turn, condensing power in the palm of his hand, and charged forward again. Where are you going? On both sides, the two sect masters faced each other, their strength nearly equal, creating an unparalleled area of spiritual energy between them. The increasing power pushed both of them away from each other. Lu Ming gritted his teeth, anxious, Tang Qiubai's strength has increased even more. The disciples of the Azure Sky sect, witnessing this scene, couldn't help but worry, Master. Father. Hearing his daughter's panicked calls, Lu Ming waved his hand, I'm fine. He growled at his opponent, it seems that Master Tang came here with a plan today. Both sides ceased fighting, Qiubai clasped his wrist and questioned, a plan? I have no idea what you are talking about. Underestimating our Jade River sect is indeed a mistake. Qiubai joined his hands together, and countless streams of water shot out from his palms, Jade River limitless. As soon as he finished, a gigantic warrior appeared in the sky. The disciples of the Azure Sky sect were stunned. This is the mid-level spirit technique of the Jade River sect, it's too powerful, too frightening. The gigantic warrior, once summoned, knelt behind Qiubai, ready to receive orders. The people of the Azure Sky sect at that moment were nothing more than ants compared to this warrior. Lu Ming did not dare to delay, he cast a spell to create a fire sword. As soon as the sword was created, he threw it straight at the giant warrior. Although the sword was small compared to the giant, the fire it carried was not insignificant. Immediately after, the sword pierced straight into the palm, while Lu Ming rushed up to channel spiritual energy into it. The giant hand seemed as if it would crush Lu Ming, constantly releasing bolts of lightning. With a loud boom, the giant warrior vanished, leaving only a mist surrounding the Azure Sky sect. Lu Ming reached his limit. The immense power he had just used caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Yun Er anxiously ran over, Father. Yun Er nervously supported her father's large figure. Tang Qiubai seized the opportunity while he was heavily injured, kill for me. Use all your strength to find that disciple named Jing. The disciples of the Azure Sky sect were startled. The black-clad figures rushed in with swords drawn. In the sky, all around were black-clad figures. The disciples of the Azure Sky sect nervously faced the enemy, and some overconfident youths had their throats sliced in an instant. The number of black-clad fighters was overwhelming, and the disciples of the Azure Sky sect, unarmed with swords, fell one by one. When Feng was also busy, he charged forward, swinging his sword to slash at a disciple, shouting, no killing those who surrender. Several disciples, trembling with fear upon hearing this, immediately wanted to drop their swords. Just then, Lu Chang arrived, swinging her sword expertly. Dream on. Even if I die, I, Lu Chang, will not surrender to your Jade River sect. Yun Er, though small, was not weak. She ran forward with her sword held high. The Azure Sky sect prefers to stand and die rather than kneel and live. Tang Wenfeng sneered, tough words. He smugly swung his sword at Lu Chang, who was fighting his subordinate. Lu Chang reacted quickly, raising her sword to block a deadly blow. But it wasn't long before Wenfeng, with his greater strength, swatted Lu Chang's sword aside. What now? He taunted, turning to press his sword against her neck. If you're so skilled, go ahead and speak recklessly. Seeing the gleaming sword next to her neck, Lu Chang turned pale with fear. The other disciples were all anxious but were too busy to rush to her aid. Lu Chang said nothing, she simply spat out a mouthful of saliva. Coincidentally, its trajectory was perfect, hitting right on the cheek of the vile Wenfeng. Lu Chang, with her sword at his throat, refused to back down. Either way, we're dead, she shouted directly at him, I won't surrender. Each word emphasized made Wenfeng furious. Wiping the spit off his face, he said, good, very good. With that, he raised his sword and charged, his face contorted in anger, then go die. Yun Er was in a weak position, unable to run. Don't. The disciples were left speechless, when suddenly a spark flew past several black-clad figures towards the Azure Sky sect disciple. They looked on in surprise. What? Tang Wenfeng's sword was about to strike down when it was unexpectedly stopped, leaving him stunned. What is that? He curiously turned to look behind him, but just as he turned to swing his sword, he saw a flash of smoke, and Lu Chang took the opportunity to escape. Wenfeng, interrupted, became angry. Who? On the roof, a figure in a tightly wrapped black cloak stood boldly. The disciples paused. Could it be that hidden expert? Who is he? Tang Wenfeng angrily looked up. Who are you? The man in the black cloak appeared mysterious. One person is not important, you all go, I don't want to slaughter too many. Tang Wenfeng thought this young man was joking, so he burst out laughing. The black-clad subordinates holding swords looked at each other in confusion. Could this person be insane? Unexpectedly, this Yuheng River is more arrogant and reckless than us. How do you want to die? The disciples of the Azure Sky sect were also left dumbfounded. Who is this person? Unclear, seems like he is helping us. Tang Wenfeng, not receiving a response, became angry and gritted his teeth. Now you kneel and beg me, maybe I can give you a way out. The young man in the black cloak, with a familiar gaze, looked down and said, why should it be that way? At that moment, Tang Wenfeng was so angry that veins popped on his forehead. If you want to die, then this young master will fulfill that for you. After saying that, when he saw no response from the young man, Wenfeng took a leap upwards. He held the sword that gathered spiritual energy in his hand, and the blade blazed fiercely. Lu Yun'er down below saw this scene and anxiously warned, it's Tang Wenfeng's heavenly fire sword, get out of the way. Wenfeng up there laughed triumphantly, it's too late. But suddenly he froze in fear. Before him, for the first time, he witnessed two fingers blocking his fiery sword. Wenfeng floated helplessly in the air, unable to do anything against the young man. The disciples of the Azure Sky sect below looked up and exclaimed, so powerful. Using just two fingers to withstand a strong strike from Tang Wenfeng. Lu Chang gaped, how is that possible? The worried expression on Yun'er's face was now replaced with shock. Tang Wenfeng was bewildered, he had run into a tough opponent. He still hovered in the air, holding the sword, but was being controlled by the young man. Damn it, I can't draw it out, how can he do that? The young man in the black cloak held the sword with two fingers, creating ice to control the flames. It's over. His tone was calm but his actions decisive. A clink rang out. The sword shattered into two halves. Wenfeng lost his balance and fell backward. The sharp tip of the sword was thrown back by the young man. As the tip of the sword grazed his face, Wenfeng started to panic. He quickly reacted and leaned to the side. The dazed expression on Wenfeng's face made the young man laugh. He was completely unconscious and fell straight down. The audience below suddenly fell silent. Everyone turned their eyes to the mysterious young man. A man in black nervously pointed, You. Tang Wenfeng was now lying still, the sound of hurried footsteps approaching. Tang Qiubai panicked and hugged his motionless son, his mouth still agape, his eyes wide open, his body stiff. Feng air. Several subordinates were frightened. Oh my god, one move has killed Tang Wenfeng, so powerful. Could it be the Four Realm? Lu Ming and Lu Yunair were surprised. This person's strength must be above ours. Yunair suddenly brightened up, her eyes shining. I know now, he is the mysterious expert hiding in our Azure Sky sect. Lu Chang was also happy to hear this. What? He is the expert who defeated Na Luo. The disciples couldn't help but be astonished. Great, it turns out our Azure Sky sect still has such an expert. Heaven helps Azure Sky sect. Truly heaven will not destroy our Azure Sky sect. Tang Qiubai slowly laid his stiff son down. I don't care who you are. Today you killed my son Wenfeng. You must die. The young man in the black cloak seemed unconcerned. You are the ones who killed the disciples of Azure Sky sect first. Qiubai's veins were clearly visible on his forehead. His teeth were grinding. His eyes were bloodshot. These useless people plus them were not even worth a fingernail of Wenfeng, my son. Suddenly, Lu Chang rushed in, interrupting, Tang Wenfeng is the useless person. When he came to Azure Sky sect, we didn't even care. I'm telling you, even the servants of our Azure Sky sect could kill him. At that moment, the thoughts of this young man revealed that he was indeed our male lead, and Jing. Was that a good guess? Tang Qiubai glared at him with hatred. Today you must die, not even a deity can save you. He abandoned his son and charged forward. Seeing that Qiubai was determined to fight to the death, Lu Ming reminded him from below, Senior, be careful, Tang Qiubai's strength is deep and unpredictable. Yunair next to them was worried to the point of turning pale, while Lu Chang on the other side was cheering wholeheartedly, kill the old man Tang Qiubai. Qiubai was full of resentment towards Jing. He struck his face directly, but Jing not only didn't dodge but also let him hit. When their spiritual energies clashed, Tang Qiubai was sent flying for several dozen meters by Jing's strength. He tried to use his wind power to stop the person, but Jing was too strong, it was impossible. Qiubai was sweating slightly, the strength is overwhelming, it seems I have to use all my power. He regained his balance, clasped his hands together, and countless streams of water flowed from his palms. He spread his arms and roared, Jade River limitless. Once again, the giant warrior appeared, and Jing stood before it like an ant. The warrior raised his hand, preparing to slap him. Lu Ming below was worried for him, his expression frantic, not good. The warrior was ordered to attack him without delay. The enormous hand was ready to catch Jing. The Azure Sky disciples at its feet were also anxious. Tang Qiubai is indeed worthy of being the sect master of the Jade River sect, such power in a single strike. Yunair bit her lip, her hands clenched tightly in worry. Qiubai's smile gradually turned sinister, die. Just as the giant hand was about to touch Jing, he spread his own hands and unleashed a surge of spiritual energy. One of Jing's fingers touched the palm of the giant warrior, and suddenly, a massive wave of spiritual energy surged through the warrior's body. The red flames lit up the entire sky. Somewhere, a heart that was beating steadily suddenly stopped. It was none other than Qiubai, its owner. He was breathing heavily, and suddenly his smile froze. The giant warrior's figure, pierced through the chest, began to dissipate. Tang Qiubai then spat out a mouthful of black blood, his eyes wide open. The scene suddenly became calm, and Jing used spiritual energy to support the gasping Qiubai. The subordinates of the Jade River sect watched Jing in shock. They all shared the same sight, their legs trembling, unable to speak. It was just a finger. So strong, too strong to be imagined. Who on earth is he? Lu Chang smiled brightly, great. I knew he could do it. Lu Ming panted heavily, what realm is his power in? Yunair curiously asked her father, who is he really? Tang Qiubai hovered high above, holding his face, for realm, is it? His smile gradually lost its humanity, ha ha ha, even if he is an expert of the Four Realm, today the Azure Sky sect will not escape destruction. Lu Ming, Yunair, and Lu Chang looked at him in shock, could it be? And Jing finally spoke up. Having hidden for so long, they are all leaving. As soon as he finished speaking, Mo Tianxing and his group of subordinates appeared. His loud laughter echoed throughout the sect, and the disciples were taken aback. It's the demon sect. Seeing Tianxing lead the group forward. So it's actually the experts from the demon sect. Lu Yunair looked back and froze. It really is the experts from the demon sect. The smile on Lu Chang's face also vanished. The demon sect is here again, what do they want? And Jing, standing on the rooftop, was also curious. Could it be that they are here to find me? Mo Tianxing looked up without a trace of fear, judging the skill of the ones below, unless there is some master of the Azure Sky sect. And Jing waved his hand. Who I am doesn't matter, as long as Tang Qiubai stays. I can offer the rest a way out. Several masked subordinates burst into loud laughter. Do you really think you're invincible? You're too arrogant, here on the Yuhim River. You dare to underestimate our demon sect. He was the first to speak. Mo Tianxing smiled widely. Haha, you really have made this elder laugh. Tang Qiubai pointed directly at him as a warning. Are you crazy? Do you know who is in front of you? He is the grand elder of the demon sect, Mo Tianxing. Lu Yunair was taken aback. What? The sound of high heels behind her retreated. Lu Chang, in shock, held himself. Is he Mo Tianxing? Mo Tianxing, the one who killed 3 sects in one night. Lu Ming was also fearful. What is your purpose in wanting to kill the Azure Sky sect today? The Azure Sky sect and the Demon sect have never crossed paths. Tianxing said sternly, hand over and Jing, and we will immediately leave the Demon sect. And Jing, who was up there, saw them coming for him and exclaimed, the people of the Demon sect are indeed stubborn. Lu Ming tried to intervene, but there was no one named Jing in the Azure Sky sect. Could it be that you are mistaken? Tianxing was adamant, no way, and Jing must be handed over today, otherwise, the Azure Sky sect will surely have blood flowing like rivers and will not survive. Lu Yunair appeared distressed. Who exactly is Jing? How could he make an expert from the demon sect come here to kill? Lu Ming emphasized once more, the Azure Sky sect has searched both inside and outside 10 times, there really is no such person. He and his disciples displayed a resolute determination, both hands already prepared with spiritual energy. If you truly want to fight, our Azure Sky sect can only resort to a blood battle. A cold tone laced with disdain echoed, blood battle? You think you are worthy? Mo Tianxing's face darkened. You have no choice but to be slaughtered. The disciples of Azure Sky sect dared not look. Lu Chang was now also helpless, his face dark and powerless. And Jing could no longer watch, he drew a shining sword. Is that so? As the sword was drawn, it gathered a massive surge of power. Qiubai above froze, and the disciples stared at the blazing fire. What level of sword is this? The sword chi is blazing like this, the heat waves overwhelming. Mo Tianxing appeared somewhat defensive. This is, Tang Qiubai focused intently on the fire. This divine weapon is filled with spiritual energy, it can't be an ordinary item. I can't believe the Azure Sky sect actually possesses a divine weapon like this. Mo Grand Elder, kill this person and seize the sword. And Jing raised the sword before him. There's no use in talking, let's see this. Mo Tianxing's eyebrows nearly met. Then I'll have to let you die. He began to move his limbs. After waving his arms and legs for a while, he summoned spiritual energy from the water. A tsunami was then created, seemingly intending to douse the fire with water. Seeing the massive wave coming, Lu Ming anxiously warned, disciple of the Azure Sky sect, quickly retreat. Upon hearing this, everyone started running away in panic. Fall back, it's too powerful, hurry up. And Jing, gripping his fiery sword tightly with both hands, jumped onto the wave with the sword, swinging it horizontally. The sword strike from Jing split the wave in half, revealing his expression. The members of the demon sect hid behind their protective barrier, looking up as Jing continuously unleashed attacks. The stream of fire cleaved through the wave, the water simply could not extinguish his flames. Qiubai above was stunned, the power is too terrifying. Meanwhile, Tian Xing and his subordinates appeared pleased. This is interesting. He said this to sound impressive, but inside he was gritting his teeth, thinking, this person's strength is not ordinary. With the sword firmly in hand, Jing confidently looked at the members of the demon sect. I'm just 3 points stronger than Xie Yuan, that's enough to handle this. After saying that, he jumped straight down in front of Mo Tianxing, who had to widen his eyes to look at him. Yun Er stood at a distance, puzzled with her father. Father, will he win? Lu Ming did not dare to guess and shook his head, unsure. Mo Tianxing was continuously thwarted by Jing, growing increasingly angry. Once again, he unleashed his strongest attacks, summoning fire and water, as huge hands appeared. Jing smiled through the bamboo curtain, dismissing the trivialities that dared to show off. He raised a finger, tracing a circle of light in the air. Immediately, the light shot through Mo Tianxing's gigantic hand. Tianxing failed once more, his eyes wide with disbelief. After decades of life, how could this be? Tang Qiubai could not help but acknowledge the overwhelming strength. Mo Tianxing was furious. If that was the case, then he would hold nothing back. With that, he unleashed a whirlwind from his sleeve. Seeing Jing before him, unfazed, Tianxing gathered spiritual energy in his hands. I also want to know how strong I really am. You must push yourself to see if you can reach my limit. Jing remained calm throughout, waiting to see what move Mo Tianxing would make next. Behind Tianxing, a colossal demon king figure appeared. He used all of his inherent power. Lu Ming was stunned. Demonic shadow clone, be careful. This is a high-level spirit magic formula of the demon sect. Tianxing gritted his teeth, taking a stance. It's too late for you to beg for mercy now. The demonic shadow of the giant demon king slowly bent down next to the subordinates of the demon sect, his hand ready to grab Jing. The entire sky was filled with bright purple and lightning released by the demonic shadow. Qiubai looked pleased and said, "Are you scared now?" But before he could finish his words, Jing raised his sword, unleashing a blinding beam of light. The area of the light widened increasingly, and it wasn't long before the green light gained the upper hand. The demonic shadow demon king had to retreat before this light. Seeing his demonic shadow being pushed back, Tianxing was furious. You. He fell backwards with the demonic shadow, coughing continuously. How could this be? Blood spewed from his mouth several times. Looking at Jing, who was unscathed, the top expert of Tianxing was lying on the ground, while the people of the Azure Sky sect rushed out to see. Seeing the situation was not favorable anymore, Qiubai had no choice but to land. He brought with him a massive amount of dark energy, but suddenly his steps were pulled back. Qiubai's trembling voice rang out, "Mo Elder." Mo Tianxing, the deceased, was cold to the touch, his eyes still open, and blood continued to flow from his mouth. The subordinates of the demon sect ran over in fear. Mo Elder is really dead. How can this be? A peerless expert from the Azure Sky sect, even the Grand Elder couldn't be a match. Lu Chang jumped up in joy. We won, we really won. Except when she was angry, she looked quite beautiful. The disciples of the Azure Sky sect eagerly rushed over to see. We never expected our Azure Sky sect to have such a character, so strong, really powerful. Lu Yuner's eyes lit up, and in her mind, there was only the figure of Jing. Did we really win? Lu Ming ran over, panting, so powerful. Who on earth is he? Jing proudly looked at Mo Tianxing lying stiff on the ground. Is this really the Grand Elder of the demon sect? I haven't even used my full strength, and he's already fallen. After a moment of thought, Jing held the impressive sword in the wind that tousled his hair. You go back and tell the people of the demon sect that if they dare to offend the Azure Sky sect, they won't be so lucky next time. The subordinates did not dare to delay. Afraid of staying a few more minutes, Jing was sent back to the heavens along with Tianxing. Quickly go. With that, a whirlwind enveloped the demon sect members, their figures gradually disappearing. On this side, the sound of clattering steps was heard as Yun Er and Lu Ming approached cheerfully, expressing their gratitude. Senior, how did you handle Tang Qiubai? Jing was taken aback. What do you think? Tang Qiubai had nowhere to run. Lu Ming's face darkened as he turned to look at Qiubai. You have offended our Azure Sky sect. If we don't kill you, others will think our Azure Sky sect is easy to bully. A thud was heard as the figure in the yellow robe knelt down before them. Lu Ming and Jing were surprised to see Chiu Bai bowing his head and pleading. Please, expert of Azure Sky sect, show mercy and spare my life. Lu Ming frowned. No. Absolutely cannot spare Tang Chiu Bai. With a malicious heart, he bears grudges. Right now, his son, Tang Wenfeng, has been killed by us, and in the future, he will definitely stop at nothing to take revenge. Chiu Bai, being cornered, raised his head, and his eyes, filled with evil energy, swept around, locking onto Yun Er, and he lunged forward. How evil of you, old man Lu Ming. If you want me dead, then don't blame this old man for my wicked heart. Seeing his daughter in danger, Lu Ming was terrified, cautious. Chiu Bai was cornered, and his final intention was to kill Yun Er. If he died, he would take others down with him. Yun Er didn't have time to react. Chiu Bai lunged at her so suddenly that she could only stand still and accept it. With a whoosh, Chiu Bai's footsteps stopped, he choked, and his hand froze, unable to reach any further. You, struggled to comprehend his words. And Jing was not idle either. He swung his sword once more, slicing through Chiu Bai's neck, underestimating his own strength. Another victim lay lifeless. Tang Chiu Bai was finally reunited with his beloved son. Worried about his daughter, Lu Ming rushed over. Yun Er, are you all right? Yun Er pushed her father aside, her eyes bright as she looked at Jing. I'm fine, thanks to this senior. Lu Ming clasped his hands in gratitude. The favor shown by the senior to the Azure Sky sect today would be unforgettable for a lifetime. If the senior has any instructions, please just say the word. Even if we have to charge into a mountain of knives and a sea of flames, the Azure Sky sect will not refuse. And Jing did not intend to reveal his face. He walked while glancing back. We do not need you to rush into the sea of knives and flames for me. After saying that, he turned his back and walked straight out of the Azure Sky sect. Yun Er looked on with admiration and called out, Senior, where are you going? And Jing smiled, of course, I'm just going back from where I came. After saying this, he jumped high, leaving Lu Ming and his son stunned. Lu Ming exclaimed joyfully, truly a supreme expert. The familiar sound of high heels approached. Master, is this person a senior from our Azure Sky sect? If an expert like this protects our Azure Sky sect, we won't have to be sad anymore. Lu Ming stroked his beard, pondering for a moment. I don't feel it's the same. The spiritual principles he demonstrated are quite different from those of our Azure Sky sect. Lu Chang expressed regret. That's strange then, why would he help us? Wasn't it this person who intervened last time with Na Luo? Lu Er frowned for a long time. It really is strange. I'm more and more curious. Helping our Azure Sky sect several times. Could it be someone we know? The scene shifts to early the next morning, as Lu Chang enters Azure Sky sect with the sun just rising. She stands in the courtyard and shouts, gather, gather. No one wants to listen to her yell, so despite being sleepy, they drag themselves out to the training ground. Last night we were busy until the early hours. Weren't we supposed to be able to rest for a watch today? That's right, why are we being called up so early? And Jing squints his eyes. What trick is Lu Chang playing this time? Her mouth, like a loudspeaker, booms again. What are you sleeping for? Can't you see the sun is high up already? Lu Chang said in a serious but soft voice, last night was very long, I know you all have worked hard. The Jade River sect and Demon sect attacked, which caused our sect's disciples serious losses. Fortunately, a senior stepped in, or our Azure Sky sect would not have been able to hold on. But external enemies can strike at any time. Plus, the competition in the western region is about to start. Holding a bright red piece of paper in her hand, Lu Chang continued, to supplement the number of sect disciples, today I will select some of the servant disciples among you to advance to outside sect disciples. Everyone listened eagerly. Great. Finally, we have a chance to become outside sect disciples. Really? 2 years, and I finally got to wait for this opportunity. And Jing had an uninterested expression, an outside sect disciple. Forget it, being a servant is more comfortable. Lu Chang cleared his throat a few times, that's right, this matter was personally chosen by me, of course, it won't be fake. She pointed to the outside sect disciple quota list and commanded, everyone stand in line for me, I will start selecting now. There are only 3 quotas, you all have to cherish them. The group of disciples all wanted to become outside sect disciples, each of them standing upright. Lu Chang's finger skimmed around and then stopped in front of a servant youth, 21, Rong Chiu Gong, you are quite diligent, and you also practice hard. Although you haven't reached the first realm yet, there is still a chance in the future. Yes, you are the first. The selected youth was overjoyed, his eyes shining like car headlights. Yes, Lu Elder. Lu Chang's finger then pointed to a chubby youth, and you, servant 14, I value your diligence. This selected youth, named Wu Ming, was joyfully blushing, thank you, Lu Elder. And Jing stood there in a daze, what is Lu Chang's standard for selecting people? Does he not consider their strengths? At the same time, Lu Chang glanced over, there is only one more person to be chosen, no one wants to miss this opportunity. The atmosphere suddenly became tense, but Jing hid behind another disciple, worried about not being seen. Lu Chang looked at his cute hiding posture and couldn't help but smile, this little guy looks proper, and moreover, he is a good team player, it would be a waste of talent for him to stay as a servant. His finger paused in front of Jing, finally, it's you, number 27. Not only Jing but the other disciples also gasped when he was accepted. Seeing him stunned, Lu Chang nodded, that's right, it is you. What's the matter, are you unwilling? Jing scratched his head awkwardly, I have foolish talents, I'm afraid I can't become an outside sect disciple. The sound of high heels approached, and Jing tried to avoid Lu Chang's gaze. She disagreed and asked back, foolish qualities. Jing wanted to run away from there, becoming an outside sect disciple means I would even have to report when coming in and out of the mountain gate. Freedom is restricted, not as enjoyable as being a servant. Lu Chang came over and patted him on the shoulder, offering comfort. It's okay, you are just a rough stone, even this elder can carve the stone into gold. Jing looked at her helplessly and sighed. Lu Chang leaned on her hands, her expression cheerful. The others don't need to be sad, as long as they perform well, this elder can make an exception to promote you to outside sect disciples. The disciples, seeing hope, greeted her with joy. Rest assured, Lu Elder. Long live Lu Elder. We will definitely brave the mountains of blades and seas of fire for Azure Sky Sect. The scene shifted to the center of Azure Sky Sect, where 3 selected individuals walked slowly across the large courtyard, holding a lump of gold in their hands, which made them ecstatic. Today, I finally became an outside sect disciple. Wu Ming exclaimed happily, his eyes brimming with tears. This is so great, really so great. Only Jing felt the opposite, holding the lump of gold in his hand with no joy. The sound of footsteps grew quicker, and the 21st youth joyfully threw his arm around him. 27, why are you sighing like that? Wu Ming shook his head. That's right. The 3 leaned in close and whispered. I heard that as long as you become an outside sect disciple, you can cultivate spiritual principles. In front of the 3 tiers of the Azure Sky Sect, there might even be a chance to participate in this Western Region competition. Jing tried to push away number 21, what is the Western Region competition? Number 21 thought for a moment and said, you don't know what the Western Region competition is? It's the biggest event in the Western Region. Do you know the dozens of sects at the Yuheng River? The Jade River sect is just one branch of the Western Region, and the entire Western Region has dozens of branches like this. Among them, there are some ancient sects from the upper reaches of the spiritual river, with very powerful strength, and within the sect, there are even experts of the 5-realm Hunyuan golden elixir. Jing was surprised, of course, I know the Western Region you are talking about, but what is the Western Region competition? Number 21 began to explain, the Western Region, this ancient land, has dozens of rivers, with many branches of ancient spiritual rivers, and there are many ancient sects beside the ancient spiritual rivers. Each sect has been established for thousands of years, and many sects have been around for tens of thousands of years, with profound depth and many experts. The Yuheng River is just the least important river among dozens of rivers, which can even be said to be a very distant branch. The Western Region competition is a contest that can be participated in by young experts under 100 years old from the entire Western region. I heard that those in the top 100 will receive rewards, and the top 10 will have the opportunity to participate in the advanced magic formula or obtain a divine weapon. And Jing appeared interested. Oh, a divine weapon? Lu Chang suddenly called out from afar, "Servant number 27, come here." Upon hearing this, and Jing immediately rushed over, "Coming here, Lu Elder, do you have any orders?" Lu Chang smiled slightly, "You will accompany me for a while." She spoke while walking, making An Jing bewildered as he followed her. Recently, it seems that there has been some unrest at the mountain gate, people's hearts are wavering, and the inside sect disciples have suffered considerable losses. You must diligently cultivate and reach the first realm soon, so as not to disappoint the support and training I have given you. And Jing nodded repeatedly, "I understand, Lu Elder, I will definitely cultivate hard and revitalize the Azure Sky sect." Seeing that he understood, Lu Chang felt at ease. Very good, I appreciate disciples like you who are eager to advance. And Jing continued to follow Lu Chang closely. As they walked down the corridor, An Jing suddenly stopped. An Jing stood frozen at the door, leaving Lu Chang astonished. "Why are you standing there? Come in." An Jing was even more surprised. "Me? Why should I come in?" Lu Chang pouted in anger. "If not, then why? Just come in." An Jing shyly scratched his head. Yes. Lu Chang's long, slender legs were resting on the large couch, and the black stockings made the scene more alluring. Lu Chang was well protected and had a beautiful face, leaning against the window made her beauty stand out even more. Seeing An Jing standing outside for a long time, Lu Chang called out, "Come here, I have something to ask you." An Jing accepted the command and approached, bowing shyly. "If Lu Elder has something to ask, please go ahead." Lu Chang cleared her throat a few times and her face turned red. "What do you think a normal man would like in a woman?" Upon hearing this, An Jing was stunned, as if he had hit a hard wall, and his mind began to imagine Lu Chang in a romantic setting. Could it be that this hag has someone she likes? This is quite tragic. After waiting for a long time without a response, Lu Chang fumed, "I told you to speak." An Jing scratched his head awkwardly. This question is too profound. How would I know? In his mind, the image of the innocent, beautiful Lu Yun appeared. Looking at his dazed expression, Lu Chang shouted, "So are you a man or not?" An Jing was startled and hesitated to answer, "Of course." Lu Chang sat on the bench facing An Jing. "If that's true, then why don't you know?" An Jing explained in terms of a general male stereotype, "Men certainly like gentle and demure women." Lu Chang's eyes lit up as he knelt on the bench. "Any specific examples?" An Jing slowly imagined a few scenarios. For example, knowing how to cook. Lu Chang was taken aback. "Cook?" An Jing nodded with a big smile. "As the saying goes, to win a man's heart, you must win his stomach." Lu Chang found the answer in his heart and felt delighted. That makes sense. His expression seemed like he had found a savior. Seeing this strange demeanor, An Jing was curious. "Lu Elder, who do you have your eye on?" Lu Chang's eyes seemed like they were about to explode. "Of course, it is the great hero who has saved our Azure Sky sect multiple times. If I knew who he was, I would definitely marry him. A man like that is my ideal husband." Lu Chang seemed to have transformed into a completely different person. "From today, I have to try to transform into the appearance that he likes, so that he can pay attention to me in the crowd." Hearing the answer, it only made An Jing's face darken. "Now how can I dare to accept this identity anymore?" Lu Chang thought to herself and jumped out of bed. She walked towards An Jing. "You will come with me. I am going to cook now, and you can try the flavor later." An Jing was surprised and pointed at himself. "Huh." Lu Chang took long strides with her long legs past An Jing, looking back at him in disappointment. "What, you're not willing? Eating the meal that I, the elder, make is an honor for you." An Jing helplessly looked at the fierce beauty and didn't dare say a word. He followed Lu Chang into the kitchen. A girl who has never lifted a finger for housework wanted to cook today. Holding the spoon in her hand, Lu Chang mumbled to herself, don't be nervous, don't be nervous. And Jing, thinking she was talking about him, raised his head and said, Lu Elder, I'm not nervous at all. Lu Chang glared at him, I'm talking about myself. With that, Lu Chang waved the spoon and stirred the pan, leaving Jing in shock. He slapped his forehead in frustration. In no time, Lu Chang had prepared 2 dishes, and Jing naturally made a quick escape. 15 minutes later, the 2 dishes were set on the table, charred at the edges. Lu Chang looked at him eagerly, you should give it a try. And Jing sensed something was off and rushed out, Lu Elder, it's really a bit. Lu Chang scolded him sternly, stop wasting time, just try it. And Jing gathered his courage, closed his eyes, and took a bite. As soon as the food hit his mouth, Jing's eyes widened, Lu Elder, I told you to enhance a man's stomach, not destroy it. Lu Chang's face darkened at the harsh criticism of the 2 dishes he had cooked for the first time. Are you going to eat this or not? The door creaked open, the light gradually widening, and Lu Yun-er unexpectedly walked in. What are you guys doing? Lu Chang, embarrassed, replied, it's nothing, I'm just practicing. Yun-er pointed at the 2 charred dishes, what is this? She looked horrified, are you practicing to make poison? This smell seems very toxic. Even Yun-er criticized him, leaving Lu Chang's face clouded with disappointment. And Jing stood to the side, covering his mouth and smiling. Elder Lu, you came to find Elder Lu for a reason, right? I'll take my leave now. Yun-er said gently, tomorrow in the sect square, outside sect disciples need to be tested for their spiritual roots again. At that time, the master and I will personally come to see if any outstanding disciples are overlooked. After all, the competition in the western region is approaching. This time it concerns the reputation of the Azure Sky sect and even the Yuheng River. Lu Chang, covered in dirt, pondered, now it's time to inform the new disciples. Yun-er sweetly leaned on Jing's shoulder, junior brother, you are different from before. You are also a new disciple now, hurry and prepare, don't be lazy. And Jing looked at Yun-er with affectionate eyes, yes, I will go right away. At the Azure Sky sect's arena, everyone had gathered early in the morning. The Grand Elder and Yun-er stood before the enormous spirit stones. Today we will test the spiritual roots of the new disciples. The so-called spiritual roots are the means by which cultivators absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The higher the spiritual roots, the faster the absorption of spiritual energy, and the better the effectiveness. Spiritual roots are divided into 3 levels. Magic, spirit, immortal. Each spiritual roots is divided into 3 levels, upper, middle, and lower. The Grand Elder held a fireball and added, those with lower-level spiritual roots can receive 1 origin pill, those with middle level can receive 10 pills, and those with upper level can receive 100 pills. The disciples chatted excitedly, those origin pills are top-quality pills that can accelerate cultivation, so those with lower-level spiritual roots can receive 1. Some curious youths asked the elder, what if someone has upper-level spiritual roots? The Grand Elder cheerfully replied, you can have as many origin pills as you want. Hearing this, the disciples couldn't help but rejoice, shouting, that's amazing, we can have as many as we want, I'm so excited, what level of spiritual roots do I have? And Jing, who was also curious, stroked his chin, upper-level spiritual roots, it seems like mine is indeed upper-level. The Grand Elder expressed, upper-level spiritual roots are extremely rare, even throughout the entire Yuheng River, there are not many with upper-level spiritual roots, and even if there are, they are all experts of the old monster level. Each disciple hoped for upper-level spiritual roots for themselves. Lu Yun-er appeared in a cherry-red robe. If the Azure Sky sect can truly manifest first-level expert spiritual roots, then the Azure Sky sect will escape the fate of being bullied by others and can genuinely rise again. The Grand Elder turned to respond, although I think the same, Lu Elder, that is impossible. Lu Yun-er, with a bright expression, stepped forward, what if heaven shows favor to our Azure Sky sect? The Grand Elder waved his hand, now the spiritual roots examination begins. Not far away, slow footsteps approached, a young man secretly came, praying, heaven bless us, heaven bless us. Seeing this scene also surprised Yun-er, this junior brother doesn't need to be so nervous, just place your hand on the stone for the examination. Encouraged by the beautiful woman, the disciple tried to regain his composure, took a deep breath, and his large hand slowly touched the stone. The huge stone then turned bright red. The grand elder shook his head, low-grade spiritual roots. And Jing and disciple number 21 stood at a distance observing, how can we distinguish this talent of spiritual roots? Number 21 honestly replied, place your palm on the stone for the examination. The flashing colors in sequence are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, black, white, corresponding to 3 spiritual roots, magic, spirit, immortal. And Jing scratched his chin and pondered, in other words, as long as there are purple, black, and white, it's definitely a celestial root, right? Number 21 waved his hand at Jing, don't think about it anymore. There are only 1 or 2 cultivators with celestial spiritual roots along the Yuheng River, and they are all extraordinary geniuses. We would be lucky to even have spiritual roots of the spirit level. One by one, the disciples stepped up to test their spiritual roots. Some had red, which indicates low-grade magic spiritual roots, while others that flashed blue had medium-grade magic spiritual roots. Lu Yun'er stood there feeling dejected for half a day. Is there really no one with spirit-level roots? The Grand Elder called out loudly for the next person. Wu Ming swallowed hard as he stepped forward and placed his hand on the stone, sweat pouring down. After a while, the stone revealed a green color, and everyone was taken aback. The other disciples nearby were astonished by the scene. This is an elder's business. Seeing this, the Grand Elder suddenly became joyful, its low-grade spirit-level roots. Lu Yun'er couldn't help but praise, that's great, finally, there is a disciple with decent talent. The old man stroked his beard and turned to ask, your name is Wu Ming, right? The person immediately replied happily, yes, my name is Wu Ming. He gestured to the side and continued, stand next to me. Wu Ming respectfully clasped his hands together. Yes. At this moment, someone spoke to Jing. Wu Ming is indeed lucky, his spiritual roots are of the low-grade spirit level, isn't this a step to the sky? Then he also went to the stone to check his spiritual roots. But the result he received was only, the spiritual roots are of the high-grade law level, which is not bad. After that, the elder asked again, is there anyone left who hasn't been tested? Everyone quickly noticed Jing. Lu Yun'er saw this and quickly called him up. Junior brother, hurry up and go for the test. And Jing received the order and complied respectfully. He silently pondered, this time I won't be exposed, or should I reveal my results before I'm exposed? Lu Yun'er saw that he was lost in thought and kindly spoke to comfort him. Junior brother, you don't need to worry. Then she spoke gently to him, place your hand on it. And Jing nodded and approached to place his hand on the stone. At this moment, someone outside was stroking his chin and said, 27 is usually introverted, bland, and quiet, I have no idea what the result will be. Wu Ming arrogantly remarked, no matter what the outcome is, it definitely won't surpass me. Soon, everyone began to notice something odd. Hey, why is there no response? And Jing looked at the unresponsive stone in front of him and thought to himself, could it be that the stone is broken? Or is my talent so exceptional that it can't be measured? People were feeling confused and started to discuss among themselves, what's going on? Why isn't there any response at all? The elder's expression also turned grim. Could it be that this little guy has no spiritual roots? After a while, Jing decided to take his hand off the stone. He muttered, somewhat bewildered, what's going on? However, Lu Yun'er told him, 27, try again. And Jing felt reinvigorated and quickly agreed. He placed his hand on the stone once more, but in the end, he felt disappointment as there was still no change. And Jing was determined not to give up. He placed both hands on the stone, but it remained completely unresponsive. Seeing this, the elder sighed and said, it seems that he truly has no spiritual roots. De Xian also showed disdain, isn't it very difficult to practice without spiritual roots? Essentially, he is just a useless person. Wu Ming smirked in agreement, even if he doesn't have talent as high as mine, ordinary talent is still acceptable. It's not easy to be chosen by Lu Elder, what a shame. Hearing this, the elder added, if he is a disciple chosen by Lu Elder, then he can continue cultivating outside the sect, but he won't be able to receive any pills according to the rules. The people behind them immediately began to chatter, so it turns out that having no spiritual roots and such talent is also rare. Among so many, he is the only one. Then everyone started to probe for information about Njing. What is his name? I don't know, it seems like he was chosen as a disciple from a servant outside the sect. Then the elder spoke again, alright, except for 27, the rest follow me to receive pills. As Njing was walking back, someone approached him. Wu Ming came over and patted his shoulder in encouragement. 27, follow me in the future, I have a lot of pills due to my talent, and I'll share some with you then. The Xian also walked over with a sly smile, that's right, I'll share some with you. After all, we came to Azure Sky Sect together, so it can be considered fate. In the future, we'll protect you. But Njing politely declined, it's okay, thank you all. You should go and receive your pills. Hearing this, they cheerfully replied, then we'll be on our way. Don't be formal with us in the future. After saying this, the two quickly left. At this moment, Lu Yun came over to comfort him, junior brother, don't be discouraged. Njing responded while thinking to himself, senior sister, actually I'm not discouraged. The test certainly had issues, it didn't even detect my first-grade spiritual roots. Lu Yun continued to comfort him, actually, my initial spiritual roots weren't very good either. It was our father who always encouraged me not to give up. She passionately added, now I'm passing that encouragement on to you. I hope you can be like me at the beginning. Keep striving, and the worst result would just be blooming late. I believe in you. Njing felt very moved by this, thank you, senior sister. I'll do my best. At that moment, he suddenly realized something. Njing hurriedly bid farewell to Lu Yun senior sister, I'll go ahead now. Lu Yun innocent and unaware of the events, cheerfully said goodbye, go ahead, if you encounter any problems with your cultivation, feel free to find senior sister. Lu Yun watched Njing's figure leave and thought to herself, in this spiritual roots assessment, the Azure Sky Sect indeed doesn't have any super talented disciples. However, at that moment, the testing stone suddenly cracked, leaving Lu Yun a bit stunned. The cracks on it multiplied, and beams of light emerging from within made her feel confused. Lu Yun quickly became anxious, the testing stone is incredibly hard, a regular fly sword can hardly leave a mark, so why did it suddenly crack? A loud explosion followed, and Lu Yun remained bewildered. It exploded. Could it be related to that junior brother's assessment earlier? Lu Yun clenched her fist as if making a decision. I've seen that junior brother many times, but I still don't know his name. I need to find out what's going on. Suddenly, she soared into the sky on her sword, leaving everyone astonished. I cannot delay the potential of that junior brother. At this moment, Wu Ming and his group rushed over, calling out, 27, wait for us. Njing turned around to see them breathing heavily. After a while, they approached him. The Xian warmly hugged Njing and said, we've been looking for you for half a day, turns out you were here, little guy. Wu Ming held a jar and said, these are original pills. Others only have one each, but the elder said my talent isn't bad, so he gave me 3. Let's each have one. Njing listened and smiled shyly, that doesn't seem too good. But in his heart, he reminded himself, these original pills are already useless to me, they're just earth pills combined, with very little effect, and even the effect of heaven pills at a higher level is just acceptable. The Xian put his arm around him and said enthusiastically, no need to be shy, the 3 of us come from servant disciples, so we share blessings and bear misfortunes together. Wu Ming quickly chimed in, that's right. From now on, we are brothers. The 2 of us will be your older brothers. Njing felt a bit speechless, older brother? Second brother? However, they continued to enjoy themselves, leaving Njing helpless, just call me elder brother tomorrow, and also call me second brother. At that moment, Lu Chang came over, shouting, what are you 3 doing? Wu Ming fearfully said, nothing. Then he changed his attitude and went to talk to Lu Chang, we are discussing how to express our gratitude for Lu Elder's promotion. If it weren't for Lu Elder's recommendation, we would still be servant disciples. Lu Chang nodded in satisfaction, very good, from now on you all should train diligently, protecting Azure Sky Sect is the greatest repayment for me. Wu Ming obediently wagged his tail like a cat. Lu Elder is not only intelligent and beautiful, but also righteous, truly a role model for us, indeed worthy of admiration. Before leaving, Lu Chang said, tomorrow after finishing your training, come to the kitchen, I will prepare delicious food for you all. Lu Chang was very excited, whispering, tomorrow I have to experiment with a new dish. Wu Ming, hearing this, drooled with desire, delicious food. Am I thinking too much? Could it be that Lu Elder has feelings for me, personally cooking? Suddenly someone patted his shoulder, and Jing expressed understanding, you don't need to think too much, Lu Chang Elder has his eye on you, go for it, big brother. At this moment, Lu Yunair walked to the file room. She thought to herself, there must be a list of all the disciples here. She gently walked inside. Seeing a man sound asleep, she softly called, second elder. The man quickly woke up, Yunair, why are you here? Lu Yunair got straight to the point, elder, I want to check some records. The man happily gestured inward, the records of the Azure Sky Sect are all here, just go in and take a look. Lu Yunair continued, I want to check information on a servant disciple. The elder pondered for a moment, servant disciple. Then he smiled and said, is a servant disciple really worth your personal inquiry? Does that person have something special? Hearing this, Lu Yunair immediately thought, 27, do you really have something special? The elder noticed Lu Yunair's silence and felt somewhat confused. Yunair. Lu Yunair's face suddenly turned bright red, and she quickly waved her hand, it's nothing, just a bit curious. The second elder quickly pointed inside, the list of servant disciples is on the left and downstairs on the first floor. Following his directions, Lu Yunair quickly found the bookshelf, this is the shelf. She hurriedly searched, I remember that junior brother is number 27. Very quickly, she found the servant disciple's record. Found it. Lu Yunair excitedly began to search for Jing's name, and his information was immediately retrieved. Servant number 27, original name Jing, 15 years old, from Tian Shui City, disciple of the Yin family. After reading it, Lu Yunair kept murmuring Jing's name. She suddenly remembered the words of that man, and was extremely startled. Could he be the Jing? At this moment, the sky had darkened. Outside the sect, a man appeared. He was carrying something very heavy on his back. Have I finally arrived? He exhaled heavily. The man gazed at the scene before him. This is the Azure Sky Sect. Each of his steps cracked the floor tiles. He stood there, lamenting, the coffin made from 9 heaven profound stone is too heavy. The coffin was quickly placed on the ground. He gasped for air, trembling with fatigue. The man sighed as if he had relieved himself of a burden. Finally completed the task. After arranging everything, he turned to leave. However, just as he turned around, he screamed in panic. Jing, with his face covered, had been standing there for some time. He slowly approached and said, you mysterious expert barging into our Azure Sky Sect, carrying a coffin, what do you intend to do? The man angrily replied, are you the mysterious expert of Azure Sky Sect? Jing did not hesitate to ask back, are you from the demon sect? You truly are a relentless spirit. The man chuckled, so what if I am a mysterious expert? I warn you not to meddle in matters that do not concern you. Before leaving, he added, or you will invite disaster upon yourself. However, Jing prepared to attack, do you think I will let you go? His hand quickly landed on the man's shoulder, but he vanished almost instantly, leaving Jing confused. What? He disappeared. While Jing was still trying to comprehend what had just happened, the man quickly made his way outside. You think you can keep me here with your strength? Even if those old monsters from Yuheng River came personally, they wouldn't be able to stop me. But Jing coldly replied, then take a look for yourself. At that moment, a stream of true qi was moving, Jing quickly jumped up, attacking with a powerful hand right behind the man. The man smirked, a trivial trick. He controlled the rising streams of energy. Is that all it takes to capture me? However, Jing's hand continued to descend, causing him to feel confused. What? He didn't understand what was happening before him. What is going on? The man struggled, but Jing's grip only tightened. He angrily said, "You're mistaken, I didn't expect your strength to be this strong." Jing slowly walked over and asked, "Tell me, what is your mission? What is the purpose of sneaking into the Azure Sky sect at night?" But the man spoke with a disdainful tone, "Do you think you can trap me?" He then exhaled, unleashing a boundless stream of demon energy. He chuckled wickedly, "My demon energy is highly toxic. If you let it be, the entire Azure Sky sect will be destroyed." And Jing was taken aback, "This is not good." He quickly channeled the condensed streams of energy, then raised his hand to move them. In no time, a barrier was created by Jing, gradually expanding. "I cannot allow others to be harmed." Streams of evil energy continuously crashed against the barrier. At this moment, the man hastily made his exit. "Mission accomplished, I shall take my leave." He expressed a bit of disappointment, "They really run fast." At that moment, the disciples in the sect also noticed something unusual. "Enemies are coming, everyone stay alert." "Who is it?" A coffin suddenly appeared right in front of them. Jing looked back, quietly saying, "We should leave now." Then he quickly vanished. At this moment, a noise came from inside the coffin, and a black bird flew out, exclaiming, "I'm suffocating." After that, it flew away, and the coffin was closed again. At this point, everyone in the sect quickly moved in, their faces tense. Lu Ming was a bit stunned. "Strange, I clearly heard sounds of fighting just now. What is this?" A chained coffin appeared before them, and he angrily shouted, "Where did this coffin come from?" Meanwhile, Jing was on his way back, thinking, "Why did the people from the demon sect come here, and they even brought a coffin? Could it be related to the demon empress?" He pondered as he walked, finally scratching his chin thoughtfully. "I wonder what the demon empress looks like. Is she beautiful?" Suddenly, a black bird flew over, saying, "The demon empress is very beautiful, she is the most beautiful woman." Upon hearing this, Jing's eyes lit up. "The most beautiful woman?"